Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching first part of What If Naruto Awakens Golden Wind Chakra during Chunin exams. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Training Area 56. During the Third Shinobi War, it was constructed. It was created to allow the Konoha nins to practice their fighting against the coast. They added rivers, forests, and other features everywhere. It was an amazing work of art. The only issue was that because the rivers needed to be fairly large, they had to relocate it quite far from the village. Because of its distance, not many people visited it. Many would have preferred to stay at the training grounds nearer the village rather than travel that far for the sole purpose of practicing. It was vacant for a while, that is, until recently. Naruto cried out in the woods, "Damn him, that fucking low-life son of a bitch, full of self. Pity." Screaming to the heavens, Naruto actually cursed a human instead of Kami. That fucking bastard, some sensei he is. Yay, I have to train Sasuke, damn it, favoritism. And what, he passes me off to some damn closet pervert. That bastard, he doesn't even bother to give me a good job or even give me a hint into beating Neji. Naruto threw a stone into the air. Naruto Uzumaki was an unusual individual. Being a practitioner of Kinjutsu and the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, he was anything but typical. That was all made up, this happy, hyperactive, unaware, tactless persona. His boisterous, brash demeanor tends to surprise people. Not even his jumpsuit served to accommodate his persona as a hyperactive, stupid, and all-around useless shinobi. Yes, Naruto took these actions because they were required. Why? In order to make sure he would have the upper hand. He didn't really understand at first why people detested him. He was aware that he needed to take precautions. There's nothing more preferable than lying. He could save his true nature and true observation for later, but for now, he could save them by lying to everyone. Naturally, he demonstrated certain parts that were accurate. He still had the stubbornness and perseverance to see things through. There was also his pledge to defend the people he loved. He was still a Hokage at heart. I put a lot of effort into getting here, so why do they all treat me like trash? When Naruto hit the floor, he grabbed his head. He was filled with fury and anger, wanting to smash and beat something senseless. No, he desired justice more than the death of someone. Indeed, justice. Justice was what he wanted. Time slowed as Naruto looked up. Everything stopped abruptly. The world grew more defined, vibrant, and sharp. Naruto thought he could see, or at least feel, everything that was happening. Naruto lunged towards a dense grove of trees close to the river. Naruto collided with a tree's thick trunk. His fist made contact, or at least it appeared to. Naruto struck the tree with his fist. Naruto didn't stop there, though. He stepped forward, continuing to punch. More quickly than 30 loggers could have broken through the tree patch, he did. Breathing slowly, he reached the water's edge. He was unaware of what he had just done and the increasing power he was acquiring. Naruto approached the river's edge and peered over its edge. It astounded him what he saw. There was something different in his eyes. They weren't red like the Kyuubi's chakra, nor were they blue like usual. They were priceless. His body ached and his newly golden eyes abruptly turned back to their usual blue. "I'm so tired, oh." Naruto bent down and began to cough. What was that? I had golden eyes. How did I act? When Naruto turned around, he saw the chaos and destruction he had caused, and his eyes grew wide. Did I really do that? Shaking, Naruto stood up and made his way over to the shattered trees. When he went crazy, he made a sizzling hole, which he examined while on his knees. After reaching out and touching one of the holes, Naruto quickly withdrew his hand. It was extremely hot. Thinking about what had just happened, Naruto fell on his butt. In just a few seconds, he had broken 50 trees. This could not possibly be accomplished by him alone. The chakra of Kyuubi? No, he would have had red eyes. So something else had to be the cause. What then caused the trees to have holes in them? It appeared as though something had grown over Naruto's hand in the shape of a glove because they were precisely round. For 20 minutes, Naruto sat on his butt, reflecting on what he had just done. He felt the world slow down and tried to review everything. He appeared to have slowed down time. But that wasn't correct. He simply responded more quickly. Naruto sighed, seeing no progress. With a sigh, Naruto realized he only had 4 hours left before turning in and getting ready for the foolish closet pervert tomorrow. Naruto let out a sigh. Naruto looked up at the sky and said, "Damn it, that fucking Kakashi. You know, one of these days I'll show everyone what the right thing to do is." Something suddenly exploded inside of Naruto. He felt energy explode inside of him like liquid water pouring down a stream or fire sweeping through a forest. Naruto got to his feet and examined his hands, saying, "This feeling, yes, this is it." He thought he was capable of anything. A leaf was slowly, very slowly, falling when Naruto looked up. Naruto extended his hands to grasp it. It was about to fall onto his hand when it was torn to pieces. What the heck? Widened Naruto's eyes, and he blinked. This implied that his hands were being covered, but with what? Naruto moved forward and put his hands on one of the downed trees. Naruto felt the tree, and it was being sliced, tiny little holes like a drill, as if by magic. My chakra, or whatever it is encircling my hand in invisible gloves that slice through very quickly. Slicing. Iruka-sensei mentioned cutting, elemental chakra? But what was it, Naruto thought, looking down with a sigh. Going back to the beginning. Heading up, Naruto surveyed his surroundings before saying, "I should test out the limits. Let's see if I can punch in midair." He turned to face a tree that was roughly 5 meters away. He inhaled deeply, moved forward a step, and punched while channeling chakra through his arm. He did it again as though he'd given it a close range punch without even coming into contact with the tree. Thus, it has range as well. How about slashing? Naruto tried it again on another tree, and this time it worked. Alright, so I'm not sure what this ability is or how to use it, but I know for sure that I can use it to beat Neji. If I can use my arms to do it, how about my legs? Just as Naruto was going to raise his legs, all of a sudden he lost energy and collapsed to the ground. His whole body began to tremble. Oh my god, it hurts. Naruto stumbled to the ground. His entire body felt as though it were being stabbed and squeezed together. This is how it went on for 3 minutes until the pain eventually subsided. Panting and drenched in sweat, Naruto lay on the ground. Naruto stood up shakily once more and began walking home, saying, "Now I know the backfires." He would experiment later. The following day. Thus, the training sessions with the closet pervert, Ebisu, proceeded. Naruto let out a sigh and peered down at the water, beginning to sense the agony. Attempting to walk on the water, Naruto maintained a steady flow while gathering his chakra into his feet. Additionally, the water was extremely hot due to the hot spring. Ack. Leaping out quickly, Naruto's clothes were drenched and steam was visibly rising from him. Naruto thought to himself, "Why can't I get this?" It seemed as though something was turning his chakra the wrong way ever since that snake guy had stabbed him, or something. Naruto persisted in trying different strategies to stay above the water, and eventually he succeeded in keeping 1 foot above the surface without falling in or only submerging for the first time. From there, he tried to take another step but was unable to do so and fell in again because he had not adjusted the chakra correctly. With a sigh, Naruto stood up on the stone street. "I have to do this right. I have to show that so. Called Sensei that I can defeat Neji. I can accomplish this," Naruto declared, resolutely getting back up on his feet. When Naruto stepped back out into the water, his foot remained firmly in place. He tried to take another step, but just as soon as he was completely in the water, his chakra wavered, causing him to fall in. Crap, thought Naruto with contempt. And for the next hour or so, Naruto kept falling in while trying to take small steps. Naruto was about to try it again, pulling himself up, when he heard someone arguing far away. His substitute teacher yelled, "I will not allow any shameless acts in my presence." After hearing something being called for and then witnessing someone being thrown to the ground with such force that Naruto felt bad for them, it was nearly 2 seconds later. Naruto chose to investigate because he needed a break. Naruto stood up and walked over to where the commotion was. It wasn't too far to find what Naruto was looking for, it was just around the corner. Ebisu was face down on the ground, probably unconscious, and there was an elderly man on a toad with long white hair, a strange metal headband shaped like a leaf, and a big scroll on his back. Although it's entertaining and fascinating to watch Ebisu lose so badly, I still need him for my training, Naruto sighed as he approached the elderly man on the frog. Choosing to continue being the annoying idiot in orange, Naruto yelled, "Hey pervert on the frog!" at the top of his lungs. "Who the hell are you calling a pervert, you brat?" was yelled back in a louder voice by the so-called pervert. Naruto's eyebrow quirked, saying, "Oh no, he's falling." Naruto once more yelled, "The one who is peeping into women's baths, that's who." While taking advantage of the situation. When the women in the hot spring heard this, they immediately covered up and fled, yelling that the person was a pervert. "Damn it. Why did you have to go and do that? You just ruined my research." "Research?" Naruto asked in dismay. He sensed the direction this was going. He took out a book that appeared to be familiar to Naruto from his shirt pocket. At last, he remembered where he had seen it. It had an orange cover with the title, Icha Icha Paradise. The connection between the book and the annoying scarecrow made Naruto's eye twitch once more. "Hey, that's the book, stupid Kakashi. Sensei always reads." Jiraiya noticed Naruto's sarcasm and tone when he mentioned Kakashi, but she dismissed it. "Ah, so you've met a fan of the novel. My book must be quite popular," he said with a pervert smile. Naruto sighed inwardly. "You mean you're the one who writes that?" "Of course. Then again, why am I wasting my time here?" Jiraiya decided to introduce himself in an absurd, ostentatious, and wholly unique way in an attempt to entertain the young child. He ends his introduction with a ridiculous pose atop the toad's head, saying, "I am Mayuboku Mountain's monk of the frog spirits. Also known as the Toad Sage. Otherwise known as Jiraiya of the Sannin." A bead of sweat appeared on Naruto's head. However, Naruto then recognizes Sannin's name. "Alright, no worries, my luck is still on my side. How can I get this guy to train me, then?" Once more, Naruto chose to pull off the ruse by adopting his foolish persona. "Okay, so you're the Toad Sage now, will you help me train or not?" He gives Naruto a sharp look and then responds to him. "I guess I can, but I can't make it look too easy. This is his kid. I owe him one. And what would I get in return for this?" Naruto sighed inwardly and gave it some thought before he had an idea. "Dear Kami, why'd I have to do this? Perverts will be perverts," he exclaims, putting his hands in one of his signature gestures. Sexy no jutsu. One of Naruto's original jutsu for dealing with perverts materializes in a puff of smoke. Jiraiya's response startled Naruto. Jiraiya gave a thumbs up and exclaimed, "All right, you have got a deal." "Yes, this is money now." Once more, Naruto broke out in a cold sweat and let out a deep, inward sigh. However, as long as the Sannin consented to train him, he didn't really care. Jiraiya turned around, pressed his fingers together, and giggled like a schoolgirl as he stated, "Although there is one condition to this agreement." Naruto puffed out of his form in rage and glared at the elderly man, saying, "You have to stay like that when you are around me." "Damn perverts," Naruto cried angrily both inside and outside, "I knew it. You are a pervert. I am not just any old pervert. I'm a super pervert." Naruto sighed and cast a doleful glance at Jiraiya, his future teacher. "At least he consented to instruct me." Naruto asked in an irritated manner, "So are you going to train me or not?" The Sannin finally threw in the towel, sighing with defeat. "All right, now that it's settled, let's see what this kid can do." "Fine kid, I'll supervise your training and assist you as I can." Beaming broadly, Naruto exclaimed as he continued his training, thinking, "Finally, I can start working." Jiraiya remarked, "This place is too packed for the training I am going to give him," adding, "But we are going to move to a better location for your training." Naruto grinned. "I know exactly where to go." A few minutes later, Naruto arrived at Training Ground 56. Jiraiya surveyed the area and cackled at the devastation. Jiraiya bent over and gazed at one of the downed trees, thinking, "Wow, someone really did a number on this place. Is this wind chakra, this feeling?" Pushing the ideas aside for additional research, Jiraiya yelled at Naruto. Moving away from the river, he said, "Okay brat, get back to your water walking and I will point out what I can." Naruto sighed in exhaustion as he gave it another go. "Hello water," and then he fell in once more. Naruto hauled himself onto dry land and removed his shirt and jacket since the water was becoming heavy and bothersome. After some time, Naruto made the decision to divulge some information about the cause of his issue. "Damn it, I can't even control my chakra anymore. Fucking snake bastard. If this Sannin lives up to his name, he'll know how to fix this problem. Jiraiya felt a chill run down his spine and he perked up. Orochimaru? Something is wrong. Snake guy? Good, I got his attention, Naruto thought to himself as he nodded. Yeah, his skin was pale white, his eyes were yellow, and he had long black hair. That's Orochimaru, he said, approaching Naruto and stepping in front of him to cast a sidelong glance. What did he do to you? Naruto gave a shrug. I was fighting him in the forest, and he Soritiv grabbed me and stabbed me in the gut. Jiraiya's eyes slightly widened. Hey kid, I want you to channel your chakra again, but this time hold it and don't step onto the water. Pretending to be perplexed by the request but not intending to disobey the Sannin, Naruto started to channel his chakra. Tampering with Kyuubi's seal. I'll have to take a look. Okay kid, I'll fix ya up. Close your eyes and get ready for pain, Jiraiya said, glancing at Naruto's stomach. So this is the Kyuubi's seal. First time I've seen it in person. Wait, what is this? The 5-pronged seal. On the even seal makes an influx blocking chakra from correctly moving. Jiraiya sighed. Was Naruto's raised eyebrow. Without waiting for Naruto, Jiraiya punched him in the stomach. OWW, that hurt. Coughed Naruto, who then fell to the ground, doubling over and gasping for air. With a step back, Jiraiya nodded and said, that should do it. Casting his usual scowl, Naruto looked up and exclaimed, what was that? Simply repeat the water walking exercise, Jiraiya said, rolling his eyes. Despite his anger, Naruto mentally thanked the Sannin for solving his problem. Now that he could feel his chakra fully again, it felt different, as if it were extremely charged and could destroy Konoha. Naruto took a deep breath and then stepped into the water. Sure enough, he was able to control it. Yes. Naruto turned around and gave Jiraiya the thumbs up. Jiraiya's eyebrow quirked, quit talking. What a brat. Okay, well, whatever boy, keep up your training until you can't walk on water without falling and maybe I'll teach you a cool jutsu. Good, he did. Minato, maybe, just maybe, he can outperform you. Driven by the possibility of gaining new knowledge, Naruto entered the water once more and released his chakra. However, this time Naruto attempted to use less chakra rather than just letting it sit there. He nearly drowned at first, but Naruto discovered he was afloat when he inadvertently positioned his chakra in the wrong spots. Enthusiastic Naruto made the decision to use less chakra while also experimenting with where to place it. Naruto gradually noticed that he needed less chakra to stay afloat. Naruto's chakra finally gave out after an hour and a half, and he collapsed into the water while gasping. Jiraiya watched Naruto scale the side and land on the parched grass, grinning. Jiraiya lifted Naruto and stood over him. Okay Brad, time for the technique. I should pay attention, Naruto nodded wearily. All right. Jiraiya held up a summoning contract and gave him a brief explanation. Naruto paid close attention and repeated what he heard to himself to make sure he understood it. With a sigh, Naruto searched for usable chakra. I can't use this technique if I don't have any chakra. Wait a minute. What about that? He thought, considering that his newly acquired ability might have served as a bolster. No. Jiraiya is watching me. I can't. Another source. Another source. Oh, I see. Naruto glanced back down at the summoning contract before realizing what was going on. He wants me to channel the chakra of the Kyuubi. Jiraiya saw Naruto's moment of realization and grinned as he turned to face him. He therefore understood what I wanted him to do. Naruto got to his feet and inhaled deeply. He let out a mental cry in his head. Give me that fucking fox, chakra. After 2 and 3 seconds had gone by, Naruto suddenly felt a surge of energy. It was then that he noticed something. It was the same sensation as when he used his new power. Did this imply that his power originated from the demon chakra? When Naruto felt the chakra of the Kyuubi, it was too evil, too ferocious, and too different from the chakra he had felt before. Naruto went through the hand seals and set aside his thoughts for later. Later. Sighing, Naruto lay in his apartment. Alright, the Toad boss is going to assist me. That's a bonus, but what about this feeling? Naruto held up a hand to examine it. It glinted in the moonlight. Naruto sighed, I know it's not the Kyuubi's chakra because it feels too different. The library was the only place to go. 9th library. Silently, Naruto entered the library's nin section and poked around. He had to look up information about elemental chakras. If the chakra that suddenly appeared inside of him was an elemental chakra, he would need to look into it. Well, actions that are forbidden must be forbidden as well. Naruto sealed his hands in a well-known manner. A few pops later, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu appeared, followed by 10 Narutos. With lightning speed, each of the Narutos went to a different area and began looking through books or scrolls on elemental chakras or related topics. Naruto is aware that memories can be saved by Kage Bunshin. The original Naruto returned to his apartment after 3 hours. It was only at that point that he let his Kage Bunshin fade. Naruto collapsed onto his bed as expected, exhausted from processing so much data. The following day, Jiraiya had told Naruto the day before that he needed to practice alone because he had to do something for 2 days. Naruto thought to himself, I better make the most of my remaining 2.5 weeks. Naruto divided up the 8 Kage Bunshin's jobs among themselves. He had the 4 Kage Bunshins practice walking on water, the 2 Kage Bunshins spar while one watched their mistakes, and at last Naruto had 1 Kage Bunshin transform into the new state. Naruto observed the Kage Bunshin focus and close his eyes. The Kage Bunshin opened its golden eyes after 30 seconds. Naruto acknowledged that the Kage Bunshin had truly entered the state by nodding. So, can this be transferred if Kanga Bunshin is able to transfer information? After giving the matter some thought, Naruto concluded that it would be best to try. Naruto gave the order, dispel yourself. After the Kage Bunshin completed his task, Naruto experienced a sudden rush of entering the state. Naruto laughed as he felt the world slow down and his energy rise. Naruto turned to face the other Kage Bunshins, who were still hard at work completing their designated tasks. So it works, he said. It appeared that the original only applies to the state of a Kage Bunshin. Naruto let the condition pass and his eyes returned to their normal blue color. While Naruto waited, the pain never materialized. What the? Then why did it do this? Was it because the state came from the Kage Bunshin? Unlikely, Naruto's eyes widened. Of course, did that mean he could use this form without repercussions? He asked, his eyes widening. That was for a later time, Naruto sighed. Leaning against a tree, Naruto released his Kage Bunshins. Naruto grimaced as he felt a stabbing pain on his head, but he soon ignored it. Okay, so I know that the state I enter causes a wind chakra to surround my hands, and I think this quickens my response time. Sort of functions similarly to a chakra pill, but why? Naruto wondered. Though not at all like the Kyuubi's, the chakra felt more similar to it. The Kyuubi's chakra was much more powerful. Wait, that's all right. If it was more powerful, he could power a larger jutsu with a minuscule amount of chakra. But how could this be possible? He had never heard of anything like this. I know that the seal purifies the Kyuubi's chakra into my own. That is why I have a ridiculous store of energy. It takes out its malevolence. The demonic part of it, Naruto said, his mind clicking into place. It keeps its potency intact. The chakra I use most frequently is my natural chakra, but I have an excess of it. I haven't touched the purified chakra that comes from the Kyuubi. If I'm not mistaken, I'm accessing the purified chakra by entering this state. Naruto considered this theory, and the more he thought about it, the more sense it made. Naruto paused, reflecting on the battle with Orochimaru and the incident in the Wave Country. And, because I am going into a state of heightened emotions, I access the chakra subconsciously creating this, he said. Naruto approached the river and the tiniest chakra fragment he could manage to destroy. He stepped onto the chakra after inserting the sliver of chakra into his feet. When he effortlessly stopped onto the water, Naruto's eyes grew wide. The water felt solid, and he was treading on it just as he would have in his normal state. He used to actively monitor his chakra balance when using his regular chakra, but this time he didn't even need to because the chakra went exactly where it was supposed to. Naruto said, I am not forcing it to go there, so what is happening? Before taking a few more steps out of the water. Is my body putting where the chakra needs to go subconsciously? Naruto decided to test this theory and stepped into the water without pushing any chakras. To his surprise, he stood there just like he did on land. Wow, Naruto exclaimed as he peered down at his reflection, raising yet another query. How about my eyes then? It was time to hit the scrolls once more. This time, Naruto went inside the library 30 minutes after everyone else had left. Naruto needed to think carefully before causing an overlord. Alright, let's start with the color section. Naruto searched the library for any material mentioning color. He dug through several scrolls, and finally he found the thing he needed. Alright, so light is a measure of how much energy is present and concentrated. The closer the wavelengths are, the more energy there is. And the various colors on the visible spectrum correspond to the wavelengths that are closer. Now that red and blue are over there, why is yellow over here? Naturally, of course. The purified chakra will have more energy than usual because of its closer relationship to the Kyuubi. That must indicate that my eyes are receiving my cleansed chakra, which explains why it is changing color. Biting his lip, Naruto, what did that mean for him, though? Okay, go over what I know. Enhanced emotions are the means to access the chakra from the Kyuubi that has been purified. My body makes the necessary calls and placements on its own. The chakra enters my eyes, making them yellow. Hold on, my eyes. Naturally, I see things more slowly because chakra is being infused into my eyes. No, wait. Naruto paced the floor of the library. Okay, why am I seeing things more slowly? I am aware that it is related to the chakra in my eyes, but how does it work? With a sigh, Naruto looked up. Additionally, Naruto's attention was drawn to a scroll named Reaction Time if it had been sent by Kami. After giving Kami a mental thank you, Naruto took the scroll and began to absorb its contents. Sighing, Naruto sat down and attempted to take in the information. Alright, so my eyes chakra helps my brain receive signals more quickly than usual. Like the Sharingan, but not quite as good. I'm not good at memorization, so I can't mimic ninjutsu. I doubt I'll be able to see through genjutsu, but damn, that would have been helpful. After standing up, Naruto cleaned his clothes. Though I understand that my chakra is simply increasing my body's potential, doesn't that imply my body will eventually become accustomed to operating on that chakra? Naruto made good reasoning. Since the effects of soldier pills were difficult to taper off, many people used them sparingly because they could become addicted if taken for an extended period of time. Consider Naruto think. Why you haven't become dependent on it yet? When Naruto turned to face his hands, the realization struck him like a ton of bricks. Obviously, the majority of it is moving into my elemental affinity, which is the wind chakra. That was the response. He'd worked it out. Naruto considered that with a sly smile. Alright, so I need to learn how to use wind jutsus because I am using wind chakra and... Naruto surveyed the numerous scrolls, each numbering in the hundreds. There is nowhere better than the library. On this occasion, Naruto summoned Cage Bunchins and ordered them to search the area for anything associated with wind. 2 days subsequently, Naruto stood in the center of the field, panting. There were dozens upon dozens of trees all around him that had been chopped in various places. Naruto had worked on them yesterday, learning the fundamentals of using wind. Naruto was not fascinated by the wind's cutting and slicing, but rather by what many windmasters could hardly have imagined. Applying pressure control with wind. Indeed, it was amazing. Naruto had read numerous scrolls that his Cage Bunshin had read and had heard bits and pieces of it. A few wind experimenters have attempted to focus wind. They claimed that by applying high-pressure winds to specific regions, they were able to create food and a tremendous breakthrough, but that wasn't the main point. One master even attempted to release pressure and do the opposite. As a result, he developed a fast technique that Naruto already had 3 Cage Bunshins honing. There were countless options. In order to begin training, Naruto intended to create countless thousands of Cage Bunshin, but that was against the rules since it would put him in a coma until the finals. Naruto was content with just 50 of them. 20 people worked on the fundamentals, and the remaining people worked on various techniques. It's interesting to note that Naruto made the trough for a brand. New River. It extended for about 28 feet and measured about 8 feet wide by 3 feet deep. Although strong, it can't last for very long because the compression must be maintained. Sighing, Naruto knelt to inspect his devastation. It can be used. Why was Naruto developing such harmful methods? With his newfound state, Ba found it easy to defeat Neji. Naruto was getting ready for another thing. Naruto could sense tension, unlike the majority of his genin class. He knew why the Sound Nin had attempted to harm his group. When he realized that the Sand Genin were much superior to other genin, he began to wonder why they were being tried out. There had to be a much deeper purpose than just bragging. Why send a mentally ill child to live with an ally? It was genuinely suspicious. And when Orochimaru showed up, Naruto began to wonder, what the hell is going on? To put it plainly, Naruto had a theory before. He merely required confirmation of what was taking place. Even if his theory proved to be incorrect, he could still utilize the techniques against Gaara because they were so explosive. Taking a deep breath, Naruto went back into his state. Opening his eyes, Naruto began to feel for chakra threads. These threads were necessary for him to command the wind and bend it to his will. Naruto hesitated for a moment that felt like hours. Naruto forced the air pressure out from under his body. It felt like he was lifting a house at first, but he managed to lift it off himself gradually. Almost there, thought Naruto. He had deduced from the scrolls he had read that the ideal distance was 2 inches from the body. Naruto made the decision to see what would happen if he increased air pressure as soon as he estimated that the pressure was being held 2 inches away. Naruto covered the distance of the field, roughly 1 mile, in 1 minute. He moved so quickly that a strong wind gust came after. Naruto's body shook with joy as he paused and observed the swaying trees. I can move to my full potential with it. Crack! The sound caused Naruto's eyes to widen, and he turned to jump at once. When Naruto struck the ground, he used the wind to create induced pressure, which made his punch so heavy that it left a 3-foot deep crater. He saw a familiar group of Robs quickly jump back. Whoa! Brat, you have a fascinating thing. Jiraiya grinned and said. Naruto glared at the man as he stood up. How long have you been watching? Jiraiya grinned and said, since you made the cage buncheons. Damn, I didn't even sense him. Naruto growled even more. Naruto pivoted and said, okay, you can observe, but keep out of my way. Jiraiya furrowed her brow. Oh, but don't you want help using your wind chakra? Whirling around, Naruto charged at Jiraiya, who scrambled back. Naruto glared at the individual. How did you know? Jiraiya grinned. Because it's my affinity as well. Now it was Naruto's turn to furrow his brow. Okay, but do you even know what I'm doing? Jiraiya gave a nod. There are various methods of pushing wind to control atmospheric pressure. It is literally possible to make a glove out of nothing that is heavier than 10 feet. Naruto gave a nod. Jiraiya ignored Naruto as she walked by and observed the various cage buncheons assiduously completing their tasks. What you have here is manipulating wind to create a bullet-type jutsu. Naruto gave another nod. I'm already using cage buncheons to practice them. They are challenging to control, and it takes time. However, I think I can easily replicate them over time. Jiraiya furrowed her brow. Big words. Shrugging, Naruto said, if I set my mind to it. Jiraiya chuckled. No, I meant big words from a stupid ninja like yourself. Naruto advanced to strike Jiraiya, but the Sannin leapt aside before he could. However, Jiraiya noticed something. You aren't ready to control pressure completely, so you can't block physical things. Sure, you can create bullets, scythes, or even a good old gravity pressure. Jiraiya gestured to 5 cage buncheons that were condensing the surrounding particles as they focused the wind so intensely. However, since it is impossible to avoid a kunai without losing your balance, you aren't good. Naruto's eyebrow arched a little. I can't help that no one teaches me. An additional twitch of Jiraiya's eyebrow said, that's why I am offering to help you, brat. Returning the yell, Naruto, thank you, you idiot pervet. Jiraiya gave it back to her. You're welcome, brat. They turned their backs on each other while crossing their arms. A few moments later, they burst out laughing. It was Jiraiya who stopped first. Let's start with the blades, okay, brat. What number of can you produce? Rewind. It would be a vast understatement to say that the training ground had undergone significant change. It appeared as though someone had cut and hacked their way through it with a massive butcher knife the size of a Hokage mountain. Subsequently, at least 42 hurricanes hit the area, uprooting the trees in all directions. Subsequently, the river was overflowed by thousands of flash floods, making it impossible to determine where the river had flown before. The ground was covered in enormous gash marks that resembled tiny, narrow ditches due to their depth and breadth. After a few days, Jiraiya and Naruto stopped acting and started working. Just train and complete the task at hand without any more talking, arguing, or doing anything else. In a way, you could say that this strengthened their bond. Jiraiya appreciated Naruto's motivation and recognized it in him. Naruto was humbled by Jiraiya's vast experience and recognized it. They quickly leveled the playing field and made progress. Their bond grew as a result of Naruto's skill improvement. They did, of course, enjoy making light of each other's lack of confidence, but their main focus was on each other. Looking down at Naruto, who was performing handstand push-ups on his hands with his legs straight up in the air, Jiraiya said, "I am going to create a seal to store the hidden chakra into it. This will allow you to use the chakra without repercussions to your body." Naruto remained in that stance, his arms bent. "What do you mean? I haven't felt any repercussions." "Well," Jiraiya interrupted him. "You felt immense pain everywhere on your body, as if it were on fire." Naruto straightened his arms and pushed upward. How was he aware of this? Yay, but wasn't it the seal Orochimaru put on? Jiraiya took a seat on the ground and sighed. "That was partly the reason, but trust me when I say this, I use a form similar to your golden eyes. While it does not come from a chakra I can easily call on, like you, it does raise the potency of my chakra by several times over." After inhaling deeply, Naruto bowed his arms once more. "So, what is the repercussion?" Jiraiya let out a sigh. "Do you know about chakra withdrawal by the Akamichi?" Naruto raised his arms in the air once more. "No, what is it?" "It forces chakra to go to a purer state. It is a secret pill that serves to make chakra more enhanced by changing the body's chemistry. It could be seen like opening the chakra gates." As he was bending his arm, Naruto stopped in the middle. "Opening the gates? Ah, I see. But that means, if I use my state too much then my body will go through withdrawal since body isn't used to the chakra." Jiraiya gave a shrug. "Yes and no. Over time your body will get used to it. But the downside is that sooner or later, your regular chakra, well you won't be able to use it anymore." Naruto stopped. With a graceful landing on his feet, he flipped in midair and pushed off the ground. Naruto turned to look askance at Jiraiya. "Why?" "It will be so, unpurified." "Ah well that's not it." Okay, put it this way your body will only use the purified chakra." Naruto cast a thoughtful glance down. That still raised a lot of unanswered questions. Even though his body reduced the chakra's size to a manageable level unconsciously, some was still wasted. Could he develop his control over chakras to the point where he could use them flawlessly? No, it was unrealistic to expect that. That's where the seals come in. Naruto raised his gaze. Jiraiya produced a paintbrush and ink. The seals will store the chakra and allow your body to handle both the chakras. Naruto's gaze expanded. How? Jiraiya gave a headshake. I know you're smart kid, you did just figure out your new ability by yourself but sealing, it's way beyond your league right now, maybe later but first let me put it on you. Naruto gave in and said, let's do this, nodding. Later. Naruto became conscious. His body hurt all over. His body burned with pain, so much so that he didn't even try to open them. His body felt as though 10,000, no, 100,000 knives had been inserted. Don't move, brat. With pain, Naruto opened his eyes and turned to face the voice on his left. Sitting above him, smirking from a pipe, was Jiraiya. Naruto made a grab for his neck. Did it work? Jiraiya grimaced and sighed a moment later. No. Flashback concludes. Naruto massaged the wounds. Ever since they had healed, they twitched intermittently. Jiraiya mentioned something regarding the activity of the purified Chakra's body. Jiraiya did a pretty good job of explaining it so Naruto could grasp the gist of it. Jiraiya had speculated that the chakra was congealing in one place after being purified. And like a dam with an enormous faucet, that area only needed to be contained and managed. The sole issue was that it wasn't true. As soon as Jiraiya put the seal and began to activate it, she realized something wasn't right and turned it back. Naturally, the damage was done and the momentum of the purified chakra was lost, sending Naruto's system into meltdown as the regular and purified chakras collided like two opposing tsunamis. For 2 hours, Jiraiya battled valiantly against Naruto's powerful chakra, which both symbolically and literally tore through Naruto's body. It appeared that the pool could not be made in time. All of Naruto's normal chakra was already piggybacked by the purified chakra. The purified chakra went the other way when Jiraiya attempted to gather it, causing a host of issues that would have killed anyone but Naruto. Jiraiya then advised Naruto never to try sealing anything again. Jiraiya had Naruto swear an oath that he would not learn sealing without his assistance since he knew that Naruto was considering learning seals on his own. After taking the oath, Naruto decided to discuss the matter later. Jiraiya, on the other hand, created backup plans for Naruto. Jiraiya advised saving the purified chakra for last and using it only in dire circumstances. The purified chakra needed to be handled carefully because it was capable of causing harm to his body. Jiraiya even said that Naruto wouldn't even need it to defeat Neji, more likely Gaara. Naruto responded, well. Retrospection. Naruto said, staring Jiraiya in the eye, cut the bullshit. I know about sand and sound invading. Jiraiya furrowed her brow. Explain yourself. Is he bluffing or what? Naruto let out a sigh. Orochimaru came in and attacked us. I don't remember much about the encounter, but I do know that later the sound tried to kill us. Jiraiya didn't say anything. If you don't want to tell me, fine. But don't tell me that conserving my purified chakra is just to save for later in the fight. I know why you want me to save it. Jiraiya laughed. You really smart, darling. Minato could always tell what I was hiding. Naruto gave a shrug. Now then, can you please tell me what you know, or do I have to figure everything out for myself? Jiraiya nodded as she cast her gaze down to Naruto. Here's what I know. Flashback concludes. Naruto was well informed. Jiraiya had an incredible spy network to start. As soon as Sandaime told him to return, Jiraiya called some nearby contacts. All of them had told him the same thing. Sand and Sound had formed an alliance and were getting ready for something. This was obviously going to be big, and in the shinobi world, clandestine alliances meant sneak attack. Sandaime was getting ready for what was about to happen. Eyes off the mirror and the memories of the past, Naruto thought, it's too early to go to the stadium. Naruto stood up and took a few steps forward. Few people were in the streets, or those who had time to notice the Kyuubi brat, because most people were already at the stadium. Naruto did nothing but lounge around. He had an hour until he had to get to the stadium, and since he was familiar with all the back streets, getting there on time would not be a problem. At last, Naruto meandered off to a training ground he was quite familiar with. Naruto sighed. Nothing had changed. The 3 posts that people would tie themselves to, the memorial to the dead. Pathetic. Naruto approached the post and examined the one in the middle. The post he was connected to, his post. Though it was absurd to think he was involved, it was necessary at the time, so whatever. He had to act like a foolish child, full of energy and bluster, proclaiming loudly that he was going to be the Hokage. That would cease to exist. He would screw that all away, oh no. Let go of his foolishness. That was the past, and he had to live. He was sick of people looking down on him and wanted to prove himself, so screw being a dumb, spoiled child. Naturally, Naruto was aware that there were still some people in this village who thought highly of him despite the fact that the majority of the people hate you. He would not disappoint them. He was not going to fail G. He was not going to let her down. She had been his caregiver and had faith in him. Yes, she secretly hoped for his success when others said he was a dead last. Yes, having someone like her on his side was a good thing. She may not have said it out loud, but it felt good to have her support. As opposed to the other villagers who detested him. He would destroy those who hurled trash at him, physically assaulted him, and referred to him as a demon. He lived it. What the hell anyone think of him, did he care? All of them would know he was Uzumaki Naruto. With a head bowed as though in silent prayer, Naruto vowed to disappoint no one. Naruto sensed a familiar presence trailing behind him. Naruto spun around. Hinata, I know you are there. Abruptly, Naruto heard an eep. Naruto let out a sigh. Come out, Hinata. With deliberate slowness, Hinata approached Naruto from outside. With trepidation, Hinata said, H. Hello, Naruto. Kun, turning away to strike her adorable pose. Naruto grinned. Thank you, Hinata. As though electrified by a shock, Hinata jolted. W. What do you mean, Naruto? Kun. Naruto did not stop grinning. I wanted to thank you for believing in me. Hinata's face flushed. It was nothing, Naruto. Kun. Naruto laughed. It was more than nothing. At times I didn't believe in myself. And then I gained hope, well, an inspiration about faith in people from you. Hinata cast a downward glance. I too got inspiration to you, Naruto. I watched you as you struggled. I really. Hinata abruptly stopped, stunned by what Naruto had done. Naruto had bent down to give her a quick kiss on the forehead. Hinata turned a new shade of red before passing out. After catching her, Naruto gently set her down on the ground. Naruto raised his hands in a gesture he was used to. A cage Bunshin appeared and took Hinata with him. It was given orders by Naruto. Take her to the hospital. When you are sure she is safe, dispel yourself. The cage Bunshin gave a nod and leapt away. With a sigh, Naruto leapt off toward the stadium. She won't have to see what I'm going to do, and she will be safe now, so I don't have to worry. 10 minutes before the finals begin. Genma's gaze was fixed on the queue ahead of him. Okay, let's see. We got some sand brats, a couple Konoha brats, and we still missin' some people. Genma verified the names of the missing people by looking down at his sheet. The children of Uzumaki and Uchiha. Well, what should I do? Genma turned to look behind him and apologized for being late. The Uzumaki child appeared to be present after all. It's okay, kid, you fine, just go stand over there, said Genma with a nod. The young Uzumaki nodded. Genma had a strange feeling. Did they not mention that he was a hyperactive child of some sort? This child appears uninteresting. It really was true. Naruto was not behaving like the gregarious, carefree person he usually was. He was, for starters, quieter and had a serious, dead-on expression on his face instead of a silly smile. A resolute expression as usual, but with a hint of menace, as if to say, don't mess with me. Shikamaru turned to face Naruto. His sluggish side dismissed it with aplomb, citing his training and resolve, while his brilliant side, well. He is unquestionably taller, not grinning, acting interesting and troublesome, using genjutsu. No way would he do that after experiencing a traumatic event. No way would he have a mental or physical deficiency anywhere. What might be wrong now? Shikamaru considered the question for a while, but decided to postpone it until later because it was currently too bothersome. Genma bit his senbon and waited, saying, a few more seconds. Genma looked up at the Hokage, who nodded. Now then, I just hope these leaf genin can wear out those sand genin. I don't want to have to waste my time fighting some brats before I can help Hokage. Sama. All right, said Genma loudly. Let's begin, the audience murmured as they anticipated the upcoming matches. Pulling out his sheet, Genma reached inside his shirt. He opened it up so the genins could see it. This is the tournament list. That sound guy is missing from the sheet, said Naruto, his eyes widening slightly. Dead or had resigned. Was Anbu sent by G to kill him? No, that would be too dangerous. Had to have been a covert or unintentional murder committed by the same faction. Alternatively, there would be a major public scandal right now. Naruto dismissed the ideas. Then, fewer genins to kill. Genma jerked his thumb towards a tunnel that led to the second floor, saying, now then, Neji and Naruto stay here. Rest of ya, get up to the second floor. Deciding not to waste any more time, Naruto took a few steps back and turned his back on Neji. Turning to face Neji, Naruto awaited the cue. So, should I fight him or just end this quickly? I can easily defeat him and save my chakra for later, haha. That would enable me to use the purified state, you know, I really ought to come up with a name for that state, and save regular chakra for a mass cage Bunshin. Alright, let's get back to business. I can't have that because if I beat Neji now, some people will start to suspect me. However, I could now delicately and slowly defeat Neji. Of course, that will require more chakra, but during the invasion, I can easily use, my Golden Eyes state. Yes, that's a good name. In any case, I'll have to use it to stop Hoka. When Naruto noticed Neji charging, he snapped out of his reverie. Abruptly burst out, Naruto. Hey, did you even say start yet? Naruto growled as he turned to face Genma. Genma shrugged and said, yeah kid I did, you were in La La Land for a while. After rolling his eyes, Naruto returned his focus to Neji. That's old school, then. With a sneer, Neji said to Naruto, you should give up, fate has decreed that I shall win this battle. With a raised eyebrow, Naruto asked, "Is fate your bitch or something?" Neji gave a blink. "I mean seriously, fate tells me this, fate decided this," shook Naruto's head. "Dude, do you have fate on your side or something?" With a scowl, Neji charged, Chakra already charged in her palms. Neji was fast, but he was a snail in comparison to Jiraiya, so Naruto ducked under a strike to his chest, crouching low into a horse stance. My partner informed me that this is an actual stance from Taekwondo, and used a jab to his stomach, sending Neji flying back and hitting the ground hard. "Pretty slow there, maybe you should pay off some War God too," smirked Naruto. "That will work better against me, in my opinion, since luck is on my side." The final blow hurt, but Neji had already suffered more from Guy Sensei's blow, so he stood up coughing and said, "You arrogant fool, you cannot win against fate." "Hypocrite, man oh man," Naruto said, rolling his eyes, "how am I going to explain this to you?" As he cast a downward glance and scratched his head, Naruto began to move in Neji's direction. Suspicious, Neji assumed the Juken stance and bided his time until Naruto came into view. As though oblivious to Neji's hostility, Naruto continued to move forward, getting closer and closer until he was within perfect striking range of Neji. "Fate is for those who are blind," sighed Naruto once more. 8 trigrams empty palm, was called out as Neji stepped forward, his face contorted with anger. "Okay, concentrate chakra to your feet and release in bursts as you move your ankles," Naruto grinned. Naruto remembered the straightforward yet brilliant method developed by a man known as 9 Dragons. "I'll do a crossover with The Breaker," a manga later. Go read the series, it's excellent. Naruto had disappeared as if by magic just as Neji was about to attack. Although Neji had already set up the Byakugan, he was unable to locate Naruto. That can only indicate one thing. Neji whirled around him, avoiding the kunai that were hurtling in his direction. "Wah, Neji. Kun, that's pretty good intuition there," Naruto remarked as he perched on the branch above it. A kunai was being thrown into the air by Naruto, who was catching it as it fell. To be right in the back of his blind spot, Neji glared at Naruto, indicating that Naruto was aware of it. However, how? The kunai kept coming up and being caught by Naruto. "Neji. Kun, let me tell ya something." Neji interrupted him. "I do not need a lecture. You know nothing of pain." The knife was caught by Naruto, who did not throw it up. Naruto's voice hardened and his eyes narrowed. "Explain to me your knowledge of pain." Neji obeyed, and he talked about losing his father and getting branded with the seal. Naruto patiently listened every time. There was a dead silence after Neji was done. "You were right, that is pain," Naruto said, letting out a sigh as he leapt down from the tree, his hair covering his eyes. "I won't take away your ability to refer to that pain. It hurts to lose a loved one, and it hurts to be called inferior. However, you are still a long way from even ingesting self pity." Naruto paused as memories flashed through his mind. There are many out there that have dealt with worse and got through. For the final time, Naruto sighed and said, "That's why you lose." Then Naruto was gone, and Neji's eyes grew wide. "Where is he? I can't see him." "Behind." Neji thought as he attempted to use Kaden, but his body froze, and he was unable to breathe. Gasp, he exhaled sharply, and he fell to his knees, his hands gasping. Glancing down at him from behind, Naruto closed his eyes, raised his hand, and yelled, "Flock of knives." Neji attempted to stand up when he felt a strange sensation brush against his body. He felt light and as though he was severely dehydrated. Neji looked down at his hands and saw small, red cuts that were bleeding. He wondered how he got those cuts and what had happened to him, but fate had other ideas. While Neji lay unconscious and bleeding on the floor, Naruto simply looked at his opponent. He called for help as soon as he noticed that Neji's cuts were bleeding, and the paramedics arrived as soon as they could, treating Neji right away and attempting to bandage some of the wounds. One of the paramedics exclaimed, "He'll be fine, the cuts are very shallow but there's a lot of them." It was only then that Naruto quietly made his way to the tunnel. Naruto fell onto his butt after sat against the wall as soon as he entered the tunnel. All Naruto could hope for was Neji's forgiveness. He became engrossed in his fury. It took Naruto only an hour or so before it began, as he sighed and looked up at the ceiling. Naruto stood up and made his way upstairs. The wind trailed behind him. Naruto observed Shikamaru's bout. Naruto remarked, Now that is what I call strategy, as he saw Shikamaru's shadow expand from the jacket and push Temari around. Naruto observed as Shikamaru gradually withdrew his shadow, and then, bang. Temari was blinded when a massive flash lit up the entire stadium. Naruto turned his head away. All the other spectators had stared at it straight and were now shielding their eyes with their hands in agony. If anyone had witnessed it, it would have been a hilarious sight, but whatever. In any case, Temari and everyone else were rendered blind by Shikamaru's secret weapon, or rather, his clan's secret weapon, the flashbang, which also enabled him to enlarge his shadow and seize her. And so it did. What? Genma asked incredulously, his senbon hanging loosely from his lips. He appeared to have been struck in the head by a 3-ton pan, and a group of attractive girls took turns kissing him, or not, that's how it appeared. He was laughing and dazed at the same time. It almost looked like he was constipated but reading a humorous comic. Temari stammered, her mouth hanging open in shock, her eyes wide. Shikamaru was half tempted to tell her she would catch flies if she didn't shut it. Wah, she said. You're correct. Shikamaru said idly, you heard me? I quit. Even though it was enjoyable, this wouldn't last very long. I have almost no chakra left. Actually, I believe I have enough to hold on to this for no more than 10 seconds. I had 540 different ideas about how to complete this, but none of them would work. What? You mean that, after all that talk about not losing to a girl, and after all the trouble you gave me, you're forfeiting? Temari questioned, still in shock. She had never met a friggin' lazy guy like him, so she wondered what the hell was wrong with him. Do I have to say it again? With a harsh reply, Shikamaru's shadow withdrew from her form. There, you happy? I wanted to fight back, but I was powerless. Shikamaru rolled his eyes and looked at Genma, who was still attempting to understand what in the world had happened. You win, he said. Genma began slowly, as if the words would not come out of his mouth, his eyes still wide as he tried to ram the next word, winner. Temari, into the air. Damn, I am lucky I have him on my side, Naruto thought with satisfaction. Now then, where is that fucking sensei and Sasuke? Naruto laughed at Shikamaru, thinking that he had plenty of chakra left. Naruto knew for a fact that Shikamaru was bluffing about his chakra. Of course there was the question why. A few feet away from Shikamaru, a whirlwind burst, sending up a thin cloud of dust, causing everyone to tense. New leaves danced about the high speed winds, some of them crumpling under the pressure. The winds then quickly dissipated, revealing two figures back to back as the leaves slowly fell to earth. The first one was tall, almost twice as tall as his shorter companion. He wore a green flak jacket under a navy blue mask that concealed most of his face. A Konoha Hite 8 covered his left eye, concealing the socket beneath. His light gray hair stood out in a way that seemed to defy gravity. One hand was tucked into his pocket, and the other gripped a very familiar orange book. With his long, parted bangs framing his face and easily reaching the very edge of his jawbone, the second person, well, boy, was no older than 13 or 14 at the most. His dark eyes, perceptive, flickered about the stadium while a small smirk quirked at the right side of his lips. His raven black hair spiked backwards at the back of his head, resembling the hind end of a chicken. He was wearing a black shirt and had multiple bandages around his arm and leg, giving the impression that he had been training hard over the previous month. Well then, it's almost time to get the show on the road, sighed Naruto. Retrospection. It had only been a minute when Naruto could feel the limitations of the chakra getting to him. It wasn't so much that he was running out of chakra as it was that controlling the wind chakra to exactly 1 centimeter from the ground from your hands is very, very difficult. How are we going to counter it? Naruto asked, staring at Jiraiya intently. Well, he was staring at him upside down. Like I told you, Sensei is taking care of the coordination of the village, but that is not what I am worried about, Jiraiya said, scratching the back of his head. Rolling onto his back and staring at Jiraiya from his position, Naruto fell and lost control of the wind, causing it to fly away from under him. Damn it, he cursed, realizing that this was the 5th time he had tired it and that he was still not getting any closer than when he had started. So, what exactly is causing you concern? Jiraiya hesitated, then parted his lips. A flashback scene. The younger of the two figures raised his head, his expression toward the blonde largely expressionless. Naruto realized Sasuke had no animosity toward him. Not even animosity, Naruto thought Sasuke considered him a friend. Naruto was mindful of that. Naruto wasn't that gullible to harbor resentment. Even though he was still upset that Kakashi had not trained him, he realized that Sasuke had learned more from Kakashi and that he had gained much more from training with Jiraiya. Naruto smiled slightly and nodded to Sasuke. Sasuke smiled back a little. It was a message of friendship and rivalry. Sasuke turned slightly to look over his shoulder, sensing a pair of eyes on the back of his head. Standing in the stands, Gaara's massive frame had dark, stony eyes that seemed to be fixed on his next victim. With a narrowed gaze, Naruto remembered Jiraiya's warning about this man. Golden eyes would instantly go if he were to fight him. Jiraiya remarked that despite Naruto's lack of Chunin experience and strategy, the boy with the golden eyes was undoubtedly a potential Chunin. With his inventiveness and his variety of highly destructive yet accurate wind techniques, Naruto could easily make that up. Naruto's thoughts strayed into a unique little technique that would require tons times tons squared of calculations, saying, "That reminds me. I still have to work on creating." However, that was not the main point. All Naruto had to do was wait for his chance to finally begin their plan. For a moment, Sasuke flinched as a maniacal and evil grin split Gaara's face, threatening to split his head in two. With a deep breath, Sasuke held back a shiver. Even though the man in front of him was extremely strange, he knew that he was a strong man. After accepting this challenge from an opponent who would push him to the absolute limit, he would battle Naruto. Sorry, Kakashi said to the examiner, sheepishly scratching the back of his head. We got kind of sidetracked. He's not disqualified, is he? Granny furrowed his brow. The Hokage decided to extend the time. Kakashi grinned. Thanks. Gazing down at the scene unfolding before him, Naruto let out a sigh. Genma remarked, amusedly glancing at the two competitors. Most likely, this was the tournament match. Begin. Like a snake that had finally been released from its cage, sand burst out of Gaara's peanut-shaped gourd. Sasuke leapt backwards instantly. He would be observing from a distance what his rival would do. He was aware of Lee's fate and knew that handling this man carelessly or without preparation would be risky. All in all, he had no idea what other abilities his opponent possessed besides manipulating sand. Don't be so angry, San. That blood I gave you earlier was disgusting. But I promise, this blood will be so much better, Gaara muttered, clutching his head in agony. Sasuke's eyes widened slightly. What the? This guy is insane, you ask, what the hell is he talking about? The sand was moving in the serene facade it had begun in, as if the pain was a fleeting thought. It felt like he was staring into the eyes of the devil as Gaara's vacant teal eyes glared at him from rings of black. The redhead's lips tightened and his brow furrowed as he folded his arms in his usual way. The boy was surrounded by a perfectly round circle of calm, floating sand. Come, Gaara said in a hushed, menacing voice. The sand was quivering slightly, like it was calling for blood, and Sasuke noticed it. Sasuke charged at his opponent in a blur, leaving a trail of dust in his wake. When Naruto saw Sasuke approach, his eyes grew wide. Is he insane? He's going to die. With a fling of two shuriken, Sasuke watched as the sand instinctively rose up and caught them in midair. Sasuke glared at the rising sand. There's that automatic sand response Kakashi told me about. As the Gaara clone attempted to use his previous throwing stars against him, Sasuke leapt up and threw two more throwing stars, which collided and fell to the ground, while the sand transformed into a copy of Gaara, glaring at him with the two shuriken grasped in its fingers. The sand rose to block, but Sasuke vanished, reappearing behind Gaara, and to his opponent's surprise, he landed a solid punch on the left cheek of the Suna shinobi, sending him flying. He landed, punching a hole through the doppelganger, the sand grasping at his wrist. He brought up his other hand in a palm strike, blasting the sand clone's head to bits. Gaara was propped back up by the sand's cushioning effect, which also served to mend the broken piece of sand armor. Guy turned to face his enduring rival and said, that speed, looking surprised. Kakashi. San, you. I did. Kakashi nodded, his gaze fixed on the battle below. I had him picture Lee fighting and mimic his moves. It goes without saying that he became proficient in it. I see, Guy remarked gravely. But you do understand that just taijutsu will not be sufficient for this, do you? Taijutsu was insufficient to defeat Gaara. San, even for my gifted student. I taught him more than just taijutsu, Kakashi said lightly, holding nothing back. Sasuke. Kun and I are very similar people. Gazing down at the scene, Guy's thoughts were mulling over what Kakashi might represent. In a blur, Sasuke was upon him again, landing another punch. It hit and he continued, lifting himself and Gaara into the air as he went. A second punch, an elbow to the gut, a knee to the solar plexus, and a palm strike to the left chest. Sasuke jumped back to avoid another sandstorm attack. He moved around and behind Gaara. Sasuke swung his leg out to strike Gaara, but all of a sudden Gaara's sand armor reached out and grabbed his leg. Sasuke's eyes widened as suddenly a huge mass of sandage shot upwards and struck downwards in a huge wave. Sasuke quickly took out a kunai and slashed the sand, freeing his leg. Sasuke jumped back and the sand crashed into the ground harmlessly. Gaara slowly pivoted around. A few surprised gasps from the sand ninja team that Gaara referred to as comrades drew the attention of Naruto as an ominous feeling settled into his stomach as the sand swirled, forming an orb around him as he moved his hands into a single seal. Sand trickled upward and formed an eyeball that stared out at Sasuke as Gaara chanted within the orb, hands locked in a hand seal, Jin, Saru, Habi, Saru. With a scowl on his face, Sasuke glared at the orb in front of him, knowing that this could get messy. He had no idea what Gaara could be doing inside, nor could he find out what the orb of sand could do. Nevertheless, being cunning, Sasuke chose to test the orb's resistance to attack, tossing a shuriken in the direction of his opponent and watching as a spike of sand shot out of the sphere, easily crushing the small throwing weapon. With a deepening scowl, Sasuke raced towards the orb with a frontal charge. Sasuke had come dangerously close to losing a body part there, and he would have if it weren't for his Sharingan. Blood trickled down his cheek, fist, and left leg, with spikes of sand sticking out of the orb. He jumped backwards, performing several flips, and continued to move backwards until he attached himself onto the arena wall so he could have a clear view of the field. Sasuke thought to himself, I guess I have to use that technique. Kakashi warned me to use that only as a last resort. Oh no, there isn't another option. Chidori it is. Sasuke assured himself that this was the right thing to do as he quickly passed through 3 hand seals, bracing his left arm with his right. Chakra gathered, quickly changing into a blue lightning that fizzled loudly, and as Sasuke ducked behind the wall, ready to make a quick dash, the sound of 1,000 birds chirping filled the air. Guy looked at Kakashi and exclaimed, You didn't, Kakashi. San. I told you, Guy. San. Kakashi firmly stated in a monotone, I am very similar to Sasuke. Kun. But that jutsu, Kakashi. San? The man dressed in green asked with seriousness, and Kakashi nodded while keeping his gaze fixed on the match. Now Sakura, Ino, and every other genin in the vicinity were staring at the 2 Chunin. He replied, It was the only way I could think of that would get through that boy's sand defense. With a frown on his face, Guy continued, Still, it's not something to teach a genin. Kakashi looked at him angrily. And it wasn't what you taught Lee. Irritated, he said, and Guy got a painful expression on his face before continuing. Okay, Kakashi. Sensei, what jutsu? Sakura inquired. Just wait and see, Sakura. Kakashi said, glancing at the girl and giving her one of his eyeballs before turning back to the match along with the other genin. High concentration of chakra in the form of lightning chakra. What the hell did he practice electric manipulation also? Naruto gritted his teeth as he studied the technique, his eyes widening. Just when he thought he had an advantage, it was killed off already. This is true for Kishimoto's way for Naruto. Then, the crowd erupted in cheers as Sasuke streaked down the wall at full speed, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. He hit the ground and kept going, sending up a cloud of dust and debris. And as he got closer to his opponent, his Sharingan helped him avoid the spikes that were aimed at him. There was silence as the crowd awaited the outcome with bated breath. Sasuke's hand cut through the sand barrier surrounding Gaara with minimal resistance, passing through the sphere and striking the red-haired boy inside. What is this? This humid, warm air? Gaara's voice asked, confusion and fear running rampant. Blood? Is this my blood type? A deathly man's cry pierced the air with an ear-splitting shriek. The sound made Naruto wince. Has he ever seen his blood? He thought incredulously. What's going on? He felt so. Genjutsu. Naruto instantly sent a burst of chakra throughout his body. Jiraiya had taught him how to do a genjutsu delay technique, which involved pushing chakra up and down the body with force to keep your mind active long enough to dispel the genjutsu. Although it wasn't a method for dispelling genjutsu, it bought Naruto some time. Naruto called on his hyperized chakra. Naruto blinked once, and his once. Blue eyes turned into golden ones as a massive torrent of chakra flowed around him and the wind began to pick up. Retrospection. Unbelieving by what he was witnessing, Jiraiya yelled, "You can't even dispel a simple genjutsu." Jiraiya had already run Naruto into the ground, through a number of trees, a few hills, and a small river, and he was still forcing him to do more. That was beside the point. Naruto groggily stood up and looked up at Jiraiya tiredly. "I can't help it. I just can't manipulate my chakra fast enough to make a burst." It was true. You see, the one problem with Naruto's chakra or chakras is that since there were so many types, albeit the others in small quantities, the passageways got clogged. This is why he was panting and had beads of sweat running down his back in waves. This gave Naruto trouble when he tried to move chakra in specific directions, particularly away from his head. Jiraiya paced side to side. His expression furrowed in thought. It appeared as though he was reading a challenging book while constipated. "Yes, I've tried that, but it doesn't work. It makes the book 10 times harder but makes shitting much easier." Jiraiya's eyes grew wide with insight. "That's it, your natural chakra movement." Jiraiya turned quickly to confront Naruto, who was still gasping from exhaustion. "Go into your hyper state." Naruto raised an eyebrow, looking up weary. "But you said not." Jiraiya made a hand motion. "Just do it for a second." After shutting his eyes, Naruto opened them. He had entered his state with success. After that, Jiraiya performed a few hand seals while Naruto awaited the genjutsu. It did not materialize. Naruto glanced up at Jiraiya, perplexed. "What happened? I didn't feel anything." Jiraiya grinned. "So my theory is right, since your body moves your hyperchakra where it needs to be, when you are in that state genjutsu is utterly useless against you." Naruto furrowed his brow. "Is there any bad side or is this on a silver platter?" Jiraiya gave a shrug. "There could be a possibility that moving of chakra away from your head could slow your reaction, but that would be a fraction of a second." After giving a nod, Naruto got back up. "Okay, what's next?" A flashback scene. Smirking, Naruto turned to watch as multiple ninjas let go of their genjutsu. The Haruno girl had effectively dispelled the genjutsu, Naruto observed. With a sigh, Naruto realized it was time to don the blindfold. Naruto took out a black cloth from inside his orange jacket. He wrapped it around his eyes and took a deep breath. "All right, let's get to work." Naruto leapt over the bleachers to engage in combat. Sakura heard the battle raging all around her and crouched down in fear. "Oh my god, what's happening?" Sakura looked up to see Kakashi and Guy engaged in back 2. Backfighting. Witnessing a battle between two of the best ninjas was incredible. Just as Sakura opened her mouth to speak, a sound suddenly appeared in front of her. The nin raised his kunai, looking at her and saying nothing. Sakura winced. There was blood splattering. When Sakura opened her eyes, she was covered in blood. She noticed that the nin had been beheaded when she looked at his previous location. Sakura leapt back in her seat, attempting to distance herself from the body that was gushing blood. Like a mantra, Sakura kept repeating, "Holy shit, holy shit. Hirano, get up, you are a nin." Sakura turned to look at Naruto when she heard the voice to her right. Sakura's gaze grew narrow. Unexpectedly, a nin appeared behind Naruto and said, "What are you to tell me?" Naruto looked. She was unable to complete. Hammer-fisted the man as Naruto whipped around. His fist went through the nin's arm and down his side like a sword or drill. The nin fell, clutching his torn side and screaming. He would pass away from blood loss 23 seconds later. Sakura gently trembled. Is this Adobe, or is this Naruto? Sakura noticed something odd about Naruto when she looked up. "Naruto, your eyes." Naruto appeared to be staring at her as he looked at her. Naruto asked hastily, "What do you mean, Hirano? You have a blindfold." Behind you. A sand nin dared Naruto to duck a sword swipe. He turned to his left and smacked the nin's stomach with an elbow. The wind chakra, whirling around his arm, penetrated the man's skin, severing the nin's stomach and liver. As though he hadn't just killed 2 people, Naruto turned to face Hirano again. Naruto deadpanned, as if it were the easiest thing in the world. It's a new fashion statement. Retrospection. Naruto said, "What the hell is this?" As he peered at the blindfold. Jiraiya gave an eye roll. "I put special seals on it to enhance your senses." Naruto cast a puzzled glance at Jiraiya. Jiraiya let out a sigh. It's simple. When a person loses an ability, his other parts have to compensate. With the blindfold, it will make you blind, and it will send the chakra towards the other parts of your body. Jiraiya was staring at Naruto. "What's true?" Jiraiya asked, twitching an eyebrow. With a sigh, Naruto said, "I guess I have to trust you." A flashback scene. Sakura arches an eyebrow. "That is the most ridiculous thing I ever heard." Naruto felt a nin to his right and was tempted to ask, what about Kakashi's late excuses? When the nin shouted, Naruto turned to give him a back fist. "Naruto, it's me." Naruto withdrew his blow and halted his attack. "What is it, Kakashi?" With a strange look in his eyes, Kakashi said to Naruto, "I need you to go after Sasuke. I will ignore the blindfold for now." He then called for a dog and instructed the 2 to retrieve Shikamaru and pursue Sasuke once more. Rolling his eyes beneath his blindfold, Naruto did so. Just as you cannot change the world on your own, one boy is not going to save this village. Naruto became anxious as soon as he sensed a chakra pulse above. That didn't feel right. Kakashi dodged a blow, slashed out the attacking nin's eyes, and turned to face Naruto. "Kakashi, what is happening over on that roof over there?" Kakashi asked. "There is a barrier jutsu, I believe the Hokage is in it." After a moment, Naruto's face went blank and then he growled out of rage. Naruto turned to Sakura and Kakashi and said, "Damn it, that senile old fool. He is going to get himself killed. Go on ahead, I am going to do something." Naruto. "This is in." Naruto growled and turned away from Kakashi, saying, "Shut up." Naruto then leapt in the direction of the roof. Naruto moves toward the roof by using the wind chakra. As soon as Naruto touched the roof, he sensed 4 chakra signatures in a square and 4 chakra signatures in a line to his left. Naruto surmised that the 2 extremely faint chakra signatures in the center belonged to Orochimaru and the Hokage. In order to get a better look, Naruto reached for his blindfold and slightly raised it. "Well, it's a barrier jutsu. I need to break through it then." "What are you doing here, Genin?" Naruto turned to his left and saw a captain. Like Anbu dressed in white conversing with him. Naruto turned to face the barrier again, and to his dismay, the guy with the orange hair was the closest one. In a confident voice, Naruto said, "When I make the opening, jump in and help the old man." Beneath his mask, the Anbu raised his eyebrows. "Excuse me?" After closing his eyes, Naruto inhaled deeply. Retrospection. Naruto yelled at Jiraiya, "What do you mean the old man is going to die?" Jiraiya cast an indifferent glance at Naruto. Jiraiya sighed a few seconds later. "Sensei is going to sacrifice himself to kill Orochimaru. That is what I believe Sensei is going to do. I known Sensei long enough to know that he is willing to sacrifice himself." "No. He is the fucking Hokage for Kami's sake. He is strong enough to kill Orochimaru without dying," roared Naruto as he paced back and forth. "That would be true 10 years ago. Now. I just don't know," Jiraiya mocked. "Then, what the hell do we do?" Naruto said, dropping to the ground with his hands raised above his head. Jiraiya grinned and said, "We thwart Sensei's scheme." A flashback scene. Concentrate chakra ionospherical pressure between your hands. Allow it to pressurize as small as you can. Concentrate chakra to maximum density as possible. Use wind chakra to suck out air. With restriction gone, allow chakra to compress even further. Naruto quickly went through the list of instructions he had derived from a scroll on pressurization and gravity. And finally, Naruto pushed his hand together, but it stopped suddenly. A wall on both sides of the chakra appeared in front of him. The orange-haired man looked skeptical at the jutsu as Naruto shakily raised the ball of vacuum up toward the orange man. The vacuum was so powerful that Naruto's body automatically compensated by pumping chakra to retain the pressure and keep Naruto from blowing himself up. In front of him, swirling around in the wind, was a black orb. A vacuum. Naruto smirked, but it worked. The intense friction caused by the wind moving against each other at such a high pressure caused vacuum to form. Normally it was just dissipate, but if you added chakra to it, not only would the vacuum hold, it would create heat, enough heat to melt through a mountain like butter. The orange-haired ninja was taken aback as the highly condensed orb of vacuum shot forward like a raging missile towards him. He tried to dodge, but it was too late. The orb struck the man and went through the barrier, causing him to scream in pain and clutch his head. Steam rose off him, and then his body burst into melting pieces of flesh and blood vapor. This move was limited to him using only once during the Golden Eye state. Additionally, he was unable to use the Hyper Chakra effectively to reduce the cost of the jutsu more than once. The wall wavered once, twice, and then momentarily collapsed. Eyes widened at the sound 4, or rather, the sound 3. "UKON, get over there," yelled Saken. Suddenly, another body emerged from Saken's body, and Yukon sprinted as quickly as he could in the opposite direction. Fortunately, the Anbu arrived in the area well before Yukon could make it halfway to where the orange-haired nin was. "Turtle, lion, go take out that nin over there," yelled the Anbu captain. The Anbu captain turned back to the Hokage who were just beginning to fight, and two Anbu immediately jumped off to hold off or even kill Yukon. If they could stop Yukon, then they could bring in more ninjas. Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. As the Hokage threw a shuriken and flipped through several hand seals, the shuriken suddenly multiplied into dozens of spinning blades. Orochimaru grinned and put his hands inside a specific seal, a seal that was forbidden. "That seal is," the Hokage said, his eyes widening. "Fur," Orochimaru said, raising his hand. Hokage Shiki Jijun Jutsu, Force Retirement Jutsu in the Bokage style. "Yeah, I know it's not for this, but whatever, I'm bending the rules a little." Orochimaru's eyes widened as 9 wooden pillars suddenly surrounded him, and he said, "Damn this jutsu." Orochimaru leapt from his spot and confronted the now trio of opponents. "Hokage Sama, we're here to help," Tora said as she touched down next to the Hokage. Sarutobi nodded. "Okay, so it appears that I can survive today." For a moment, Sandyame's gaze shifted to the young boy who was causing this. Naruto grinned as he met Sandame's eyes. Subsequently, Naruto leapt to pursue Sakura and Shikamaru. Naruto dashed as quickly as he could through the forest. Okay, that's not accurate. He was not in the state of golden eyes. Why? How else was he going to fight Gaara? He had to save it. Naruto stepped through the branches, dotting his feet with chakra as he went. Of course, when he arrived, he would have an abundance of chakra, but the most important thing was to get there quickly. He had no idea if Sakura would pass away alongside Sasuke or not. It does not follow that he did not value human life, even though he did not want them to be teammates. Even though he was treated poorly, at least these guys gave him some attention and asked how he was doing. It felt good to be looked at like someone other than a freak or a demon. Gritting his teeth, Naruto pushed off another branch of a tree, propelling himself even farther after Sakura and Sasuke. You're all probably wondering how on earth he could have found them. He was simply sensing their chakra. Or the chakra spikes, anyhow. He had been informed by Jiraiya that they needed to work on his sensory, even for a short while. Since Naruto was blind when wearing the blindfold, he was senseless. Naturally, this is untrue, but Jiraiya enjoyed using strong language in his insults to make Naruto more determined to refute him. Thus, Jiraiya created Naruto. Retrospection. After inhaling deeply, Naruto waited. He ignored the urge to turn around and kept his eyes forward. It would arrive in a split second. There was a rustle, but Naruto remained still. He was aware that would be a ruse, or more accurately, a bait. Naruto eased the tense muscles in his body caused by the noise. Tensing up would not help him. So, how am I? Naruto asked, his eyes widening as he felt the wind tickle his back and instantly flipped over. A swarm of extremely sharp sticks flew beneath him. As he saw them strike a tree at the opposite end of the field, Naruto grinned. Naruto's happiness over the achievement would soon fade. The wind tickled Naruto's right side, and his eyes grew wide. Naruto shifted position, giving the approaching sticks a glare. Naruto swung both arms in a violent gesture. Food and air rift. Just like that, a wall of magic materialized. It seemed as though the sticks curved around Naruto, dodging him by a few centimeters. The way the sticks avoided Naruto suggested that they were all terrified of him. Using wind chakra, Naruto discovered from his readings that it was simpler to deflect an object than to entirely stop it. After hitting the ground, Naruto stopped moving. He extended his senses in an attempt to empathize with the adversary. Left, no, just a leaf falling. In the rear? Naruto raised his right leg gradually. Naruto tentatively set it behind him, as though he were in the middle of a minefield. Naruto kept his feet elevated in case he needed to jump off, but he did let the ball of his feet touch the ground. Naruto let his chakra peek through his fingertip margins. Given that the finger was smaller than the arm, it would be simpler to fashion sharper wind blades from the edges. Naruto refrained from inhaling. Something touched Naruto's back. I was correct, Naruto said as he advanced to gain some extra time before leaping to his left. He put his hand palm down on the floor. He turned and sent a slash of wind chakra outward with his right arm, using his hand and arm like a lever. When Naruto noticed a rope dangling from a tree, his eyes grew wide. A trap, a damn decoy. Naruto pivoted to the side. He could not respond in time. A large, heavy rock struck Naruto squarely in the head. Naruto lost his balance and hit his head. Ow, 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 ow. Fuck you, Jiraiya. Jiraiya burst out chuckling. Another stone was in his hand. He tossed it up in a mocking and playful manner. Gradually, Naruto got up and rubbed his forehead. Asshole. Jiraiya gave an eye roll. It's not my fault you can't sense my chakra signature. With a glare, Naruto muttered. Like I can sense someone who has a level of a Sannin. Jiraiya gave an eye roll. Anyways, let me teach you a trick for sensing chakra spikes then. Naruto looked up, a confused expression on his face. Chakra spikes? Jiraiya gave a nod. Every time you use a jutsu or chakra for that matter, you are sending an echo out to the world. Of course it gets weaker as it goes out, but if one is good enough, you can censor a jutsu about 3/4 of a mile out. Naruto's gaze expanded. Whoa, Jiraiya gave a nod. Naruto then blinked. But you probably can't do that, huh? Jiraiya furrowed his brow. Reaching up, Jiraiya held the rock, ready to throw it. Naruto drew back a bit. A finger struck Naruto's forehead, shoving him hard to the ground. Damn it, Jiraiya. Jiraiya gave a hearty laugh. Close the flashback. A thin sliver of chakra emerged from Naruto and circled around him. To be more precise, the chakra flickered as it moved 30 degrees to the left of him. Naruto swiveled that way and began to leap. Chin responds to other chakras. The way people interact with one another is a rule and a law of life. Unbeknownst to many, Jiraiya postulated that chakra served as the human body's life force and as a binding force throughout the universe. Although it was evident that chakra exhaustion can be fatal, there was more to it than meets the eye. Because everything was thought to have a chakra, you could react chakra with the natural world. It could be possible to use that chakra from nature, Jiraiya had informed Naruto. Jiraiya did have some pretty insane skills back then, Naruto smirked. Chakra spikes seemed to be getting bigger to Naruto, and his small amount of chakra reacted angrily. There is a demonic thing up ahead. Naruto exerted even more effort to arrive here. Sasuke. Gaara yelled, Dai Uchiha. And lifted his sand claw to give the Uchiha one last blow. Sasuke was writhing in agony, to be sure. Not only had he used another Chidori, but he had also used the cursed seal. Sasuke knew right away that he had to hold it in. It would deteriorate his skill and turn him into a mindless slave, according to what Kakashi had said. It made him react by forcing him to use a different chakra, which caused him to become addicted or accustomed to the tainted chakra. Then Sasuke could make his own guesses. He would gain power if he used the curse seal, but it wouldn't be his own. Looking at the sand claw, Sasuke considered his impending demise. His mind raced through his memories. He saw in his early years. He witnessed the massacre at Uchiha. He observed attending an academy. He saw Sakura and Naruto forming a team. He saw the Wave Country. He saw the exam for Chunin. Then he noticed something different. He witnessed Sakura and Naruto transform into Chunin. He witnessed his brother and Team 7 fighting. He observed that he was leading a better, happier life. Unfortunately, that life would not be his. Sasuke watched in slow motion as the claw drew nearer and nearer. Sasuke considered that. I could do all those things if I had a little more time. No. Sasuke's gaze expanded. Gaara's eyes widened as he turned slightly. A few kunais emerged and launched themselves at Gaara. Gaara leapt back and blocked with his arm made of sand. With saliva streaming from his mouth like a ravenous wolf ready to eat, he growled at the newcomer. Sakura collapsed beside Sasuke. Bravely, she held another kunai out to Gaara. With a sigh of relief, Sasuke noticed something that made his stomach drop. Sakura was trembling in her hands. Shit. There's nothing she can do. She'll just endanger her own life. Gritting his teeth, Sasuke slowly stood up, leaning on the tree for support. Sakura, get out of here and get help. I'll hold him off, Sasuke cried out. Sakura's worried gaze momentarily shifted to him, and Sasuke saw it. But Sasuke. In your condition you'll. Sasuke had already swallowed his sorrow and turned to face Gaara. Don't worry, what matters is Konoha. Gaara rushed forward, prepared to attack, having had enough of the small talk. Fuuton, force stomp. Everything was pushed down by a strong gust of wind. Perched atop a bough, Sakura and Sasuke clung to it for dear life. In contrast, Gaara crashed into the ground after falling 40 feet while in midair. Even though the sand covered him, the impact was extremely painful. When the wind gust subsided, Sakura and Sasuke looked up, their eyes expanding upon realizing who their savior was. On a higher branch, Naruto was standing tall and proud. He had a tensely folded arm and a smoking leg, likely from prior use of the jutsu. Naruto cast a scowl at Gaara as she attempted to get to her feet. Sasuke felt his muscles loosen up. There was still hope for him. The Naruto. Naruto watched Gaara get to her feet, scowling. A Jinchuriki. Like me. Naruto felt a momentary wave of both relief and sadness. Knowing that you are not alone in the world and that you do not have to battle against your own kind was a comforting realization. It was actually quite intricate. Naruto extracted his blindfold from inside his jacket. He would have to give this one his all. Gaara smiled as she looked up and saw Naruto. You are the one that makes my blood boil with excitement. With a sigh, Naruto put on his blindfold. Drawing strength from his resolve, Naruto experienced a now familiar surge of energy. Naruto sighed again as he looked down at Gaara, or appeared to. Gaara, why do you fight? Despite giving Naruto a hungrily glare, Gaara responded to the question, I fight to prove my existence. Slowly, Naruto nodded. As do I. Sakura and Sasuke listened with wide eyes. However, Naruto abruptly vanished and then resurfaced beside Gaara. But, I also fight for my friends. I didn't even see him, widened the eyes of Sakura, Sasuke, and Gaara. Taking a deep breath, Naruto raised his arm and spoke in a monotone. Fuuden, Dragon Claw. Naruto swung his arm downward. A howl sounded, sharp as the wind. Near Naruto, a few trees fell. To remain atop a tree that had not been chopped down, Sasuke and Sakura had to leap back several trees. Upon realizing Naruto's strength, Sasuke clenched his teeth. How? How did he become so strong? Naruto sighed as he turned around. I apologize, he said in a quiet whisper. Brother. Just as Naruto turned to leave, something erupted behind him. With a snarl, Gaara leapt out of the trees and headed straight for Naruto. Don't be sorry. Just die. Gaara's expression was filled with rage. He had someone who would finally fulfill his existence. Leaning back, Naruto let the punch pass through him. When he attempted to hit Naruto, Gaara leapt, using his momentum to move in Naruto's direction. After a brief moment of waiting, Naruto did a backflip. His foot struck Gaara squarely in the face, propelling her skyward. Gaara flew up and spat blood. Naruto tightened his jaw. I guess, I do have to stop you then. Naruto vanished from view. Abruptly, several Narutos materialized. They appeared to have trapped Gaara in one spot, and then they vanished like a ghost, leaving them all around her. They were after images, not Kage Bunshin. Gaara let out a painful cry as the wind chakra severed some of his muscles and tendons and removed his sand armor. They will, of course, eventually be reattached. Gazing away as Gaara collapsed to the ground, Naruto reappeared on the forest floor. Naruto uttered a few phrases. Food and storm rage. Blood suddenly gushed from Gaara's tummy, legs, and arms. Temari, who had been observing from a distance, was at her breaking point. She screamed, "Gaara!" and dove desperately for her brother. Temari had swiped at Naruto with her fan out. Already sensing her presence, Naruto raised his arm. The slicing wind disappeared like a light breeze as soon as it reached Naruto. Temari was too busy to be shocked that her jutsu had failed. She leapt over Naruto and approached Gaara. She put her body between Gaara and herself and opened her fan defensively. Temari held Gaara's bleeding body against her own while glaring at Naruto. He was her brother, and that was what mattered, so she didn't care if his blood got on her clothes. In a low voice, Temari said, "Gaara, are you okay?" After the food and storm rage, Gaara's sand form had long since vanished. Gaara was still awake and in excruciating pain. I'm fine. Let's get out of here." With a nod, Temari lifted Gaara up onto her shoulder. She glared at Naruto while continuing to hold her fan. Naruto, who already knew what was going to happen, simply continued to look away. Naruto let out a, "Gaara." Gaara turned to face the nin who had vanquished him. His mind raced with conflicting feelings. Naruto glanced up at the location of Sakura and Sasuke. Naruto turned his back on Sakura and Sasuke and faced Gaara, saying, "When you understand that there are people you need to fight for, you can gain true strength from that, strength that I gained as well." Temari gasped at what she saw when Naruto lifted his blindfold, and Gaara's eyes widened. Naruto grinned. "You will gain power beyond your imagination. And an existence that will last through the ages. You will not just have to be a Jinchuriki." Gaara's eyes got even bigger. The pieces of the puzzle had finally come together and the gears had clicked. What Naruto had told him made sense to him. Understand the significance of it all? No, but eventually he would. Gaara realized that this was actual evidence of Naruto's explanation. Another Jinchuriki, Naruto, had drawn strength to defend. Temari and Gaara leapt away, not bothering to stay any longer. Sakura and Sasuke hoped in the direction of Naruto. With a twinge of jealousy rising in his stomach, Sasuke slowly questioned, "How did you do that, Naruto?" Naruto grinned as he turned to face them with his blue eyes. Naruto said, "It comes from being different." He turned back to face Konoha. "Come on, we need to go back to Konoha, the old man is probably waiting." 2 days later, Hokage's office. The Hokage's workspace was disorganized. All it did was destroy. Okay, so that was overkill, but Naruto had never seen the Hokage office this disorganized. The old man was usually a neat freak. He had code words labeled folders for each document and subject. Each shelf on his bookshelf was arranged alphabetically. It was a mess now. It appeared as though an elephant had invited several bears and coyotes to join it for a party in the space. There were numerous slashes all over the walls. The books in the elderly man's priceless bookcase were now torn and scattered everywhere. The ceiling was riddled with cracks, and there were large holes in one section of the space. What took place now? It's simple. Some nins decided to steal some of Konoha's secrets during the invasion. Well, they weren't very smart. The Hokage, you see, had expected that. In the Hokage Tower, he also had his Anbu create a perimeter. After that, they would gradually spread outward. The Sandaime misjudged the number of nins that would attempt to attack the tour, which was the only issue. However, the Anbu completed their work, so it's really not that important. The mahogany desk that the Hokage would lie behind was the only object that remained in this location. And the old man sat in his place again. Naruto turned to face the Sandaime, and the Hokage turned to face him in return. They remained silent for some time. There was no need. The Hokage laughed after a short while, and Naruto smiled widely. Speaking in a clear but serious tone, the Hokage cleared his throat. "I will save the celebration for later, but I heard from Jiraiya that you have gained something." Naruto gave a nod. "I have attained Hyper Chakra form, the purified chakra of the Kyuubi." The Sarutobi nodded after blinking. He had anticipated that it would be a potential Kyuubi infusion for Naruto. Although he was unsure of the exact reason, he was certain that the influence of the Kyuubi was not the cause. Next. Then the Hokage looked out the window and gave a shout. "You can come in, Jiraiya." Indeed, the nin with spiky hair and white complexion appeared through the window. "Yo brat. Hey sensei." After giving a nod, Naruto faced the Hokage once more. "I'm assuming you are no just gathering us here to have a debrief?" The Sarutobi gave a somber nod. "I am choosing my successor." Jiraiya's expression did not change, but Naruto's eyes grew wider. Jiraiya was aware that this was going to happen. "It's Tsunade, isn't it?" Sarutobi gave a nod. "How were you aware of this?" "Let's see. First of all, you are going to need someone who is able to provide morale," Jiraiya said, wiping the back of his head. "Not one of the Sannin, why not? However, since I have to keep my spy network in order, you cannot pick me. So Tsunade is the only option." "Good, you still have a head in you," Jiraiya scowled angrily as Sarutobi nodded. Sandaime turned back to Naruto, ignoring his enraged student. "So what do you think, Naruto?" he asked. After blinking out of shock, Naruto asked, "What do you mean?" "Well, you and Jiraiya are going to go find Tsunade," the Hokage said with a laugh. Blinking again, Naruto turned to face Jiraiya. "Certainly, why not?" Jiraiya shrugged. "I'll take up where we left off." Right away, Naruto brightened and angrily nodded. "Yeah, I'm all for it." The Hokage raised his hand and said, "Now give it a minute. Before we name a successor, Konoha still needs to be rebuilt to a suitable state." Naruto's expression became perplexed. "What do you mean?" "We rebuild for now," the Hokage sighed. "Naruto, I assure you that although you might not comprehend the political nuances, you ought to be aware of the strategies. In a losing hand, what would happen if you played a new card and the other player was expecting something spectacular? If we try to show our strength too soon, we'll lose our advantage." Naruto nodded right away. With a quick thought, Naruto smiled and said, "You will both leave in 2 weeks." After giving a nod, Naruto leapt for his apartment. With a look of amusement on his face, Sarutobi turned to Jiraiya and said, "So, why were you late?" Jiraiya laughed, more accurately, she giggled pervertly. "Well, I was tailing the kid earlier today, and I caught him doing a research potential action. So I decided to give the little kid a little nudge in the right direction." Sarutobi also laughed in a perverse way. "Oh, tell me all the details." After pulling on his jacket, Naruto opened the door to his apartment. He threw it onto the ground and extended his achy limbs. It was 8 o'clock at night. He was so exhausted. Raising an eyebrow, Naruto turned to face his bed. A set of clothes was lying there, ready to be put to use. Naruto approached and raised the uppermost garment. The jacket was a black one. It featured multiple side straps that could accommodate a blade or scrolls. It included a hood and was fully zippered. Naruto felt the jacket's side and saw that it was denser than normal. It feels like a Chunin vest, even though it's light. Setting it down, Naruto noticed something sticking out of one of the inside jackets. It was a letter, addressed to him, neatly folded. Raising an eyebrow at it, Naruto curiously opened it. Naruto could already determine who sent it to him, so brat, hey. You are the wearer of these clothes. Naruto's eye rolling was quite noticeable. I recognize that you're partial to the Hyuga girl. Naruto blinked, admitting that he had a crush on Hinata. Naruto pondered for a while, then decided that although she didn't always show it, Hinata was cute and supportive of him. Naruto shook these thoughts away and returned his attention to the letter. You even kissed her, I saw. Naruto paced back and forth, his mind racing a mile a minute. Okay, slow down Naruto, first of all think it through. How am I going to explain to her? I can probably brush it off maybe. Avoid her? Say it was just a dream? Damn it, so many complications. Naruto palmed his face in agitation. Naruto blanched. Oh shit. That's right, he kissed Hinata. Oh shit. Holy shit, how was he going to explain to her? I thus made this jacket for you. Before you start to wonder, what the hell does this do for me? I'll try to get to know her with this. So that not even the Byakugan can see through it, I sealed it. Your chakra signature won't be blocked, of course, but in order to communicate with her, your identity will be hidden. Naruto completed the letter with a sly smile. I'm going to have to kick you in the ass later, damn it Jiraiya. Naruto snatched up the black attire and put it on. Hinata. She had ended herself in the hospital 2 days prior. That was all she could recall from their conversation, talking to Naruto and him approaching her. She would flush profusely every time she thought about the memory. Hinata made the decision to distract herself and give training another go. Hinata didn't want to be in her clan's home at this particular moment, so obviously this wasn't the best plan. What is a lady doing out here in the middle of the night? Hinata whirled in shock. She turned to face a small hill covered in trees. A man wearing only black clothing was present. He was seated at the tree's base, his back comfortably resting against the tree's trunk. His face was completely hidden by the shade, so Hinata was unable to see it. Just as Hinata prepared to strike a combat stance, she noticed the Konoha headband hanging proudly from the man's belt. The tea set the man was holding next to him was the most intriguing aspect of the image. It was clear he was waiting on someone because 2 cups were arranged neatly on a little table. Beside the table, on a tiny burner, was the teapot itself. Hinata walked slowly up to the man. Good evening, sir. The man gave a nod. His body language suggested he was smiling, which Hinata would have assumed. Sit, I do not have a partner to sit next to anymore. Something dawned on Hinata. During the battle, this guy must have lost a partner in the line of duty. With caution, Hinata moved forward and took a seat. With a grateful nod, the man proceeded to pour 2 cups. He asked, so what is your name? Hinata. Hyuga Hinata, was mumbled by Hinata. She reached slowly for her cup. With a nod of approval, the man took a sip of his tea. A very strong clan. Hinata gave a slow nod. Why? Yes, at least some of them are strong, Those like me aren't. Head bowed, the man said. Ah, I didn't mean to bring bad memories, please drink, it will help you relax. Hinata gave a nod. She made a tiny slip. It was excellent. It tasted strongly of mint. It was bitter at first, but as she swallowed, it became sweeter. The man tilted his head and said, so Hinata. San, why are you out here late at night, training the night away? The man's face was slightly illuminated by the light. Hinata could see the edges of skin, clean and smooth. Hinata sighed and averted her gaze. I am very weak, I am a disgrace to my clan. The man gave a snort. You. A disgrace, who told you that? Hinata cast a downward glance. My father. After taking a sip of his tea, the man spoke solemnly. Your father is a fool then. Hinata's eyes widened as she looked up. Was this man aware of who he was offending? You are a nin, maybe not the best, but definitely not the worst. The Hyugas are strong, yes, but they have their weaknesses. The man turned to face Hinata as he filled his cup again. What you need to understand is that every nin has a proficiency in something. What you need to do is find it. Hinata gave the man a curious, grasping look. Here was someone who didn't make fun of her or call her a shame. Kurenai. Sensei never made fun of her and was always supportive, but she never provided her with hard data. The man took another sip of his tea and went on. No nin started out perfect. They all had flaws, only the great persevere. With humility, Hinata listened to the insight and nodded. Hinata blinked as the man put down his cup and sighed. Ah, I am rambling again. The man turned to face Hinata again. Please, tell me about yourself? It is unrespectful to lecture someone when you know nothing about them. After pausing briefly, Hinata slowly nodded. She continued by discussing various aspects of her life. From experiencing the sorrow of Neji's misfortune to losing her mother. Speaking about these topics felt good. The man would always nod and sip his tea calmly. After some time, Hinata was stopped by the man raising his hand. We have wasted the day away. I am sorry for keeping your time, miss. With a blush, Hinata nodded. I am sorry, sir, but sir, what is your name? He laughed. Ah yes, my name I forgot to tell you, didn't I? You may call me Kira. With a smile, Hinata nodded. Thank you, Kira, for listening to me. With a nod, the man began to tuck the tea set away into a scroll. Hinata shifted and inquired. Sir, will you be here again? After pausing, the man responded. I will be here for the rest of this week and the next, every night at this time. Before I have to go on another mission. Hinata gave a nod. Then may I come here again? The man gave a nod. The man paused and laughed. Yes, you may. It is not like I own this field anyways. Hinata nodded and laughed. She spun around and began to leave, feeling a little happier than before. When she turned around, the man was nowhere to be seen. After 7 days, the man had a good relationship with Hinata. They discussed Konoha's happenings in great detail. Unlike the night they first met, they never intruded into each other's private lives. They would only discuss their personal lives. Happy, Hinata strolled over to where her team would be meeting. There, they would get together before reporting to the Hokage for the upcoming rebuilding procedure. Over the past few days, Kiba, Shino, and Kurenai have observed a change in Hinata. Kiba turned to face Kurenai, seeing Hinata strolling contentedly in the distance. She stopped crossing her arms and trembling as she walked. She walked with grace, letting her arms drop to the sides. She still avoided the crowd, but she exuded a little more confidence in her gait. Sensei, I'm pretty sure I am not the only one who noticed that Hinata is different. Kurenai nodded, eyeing Hinata the whole time. Yes, I've seen NTHE change too. But I don't know why. Should we follow her afterwards to discern the cause of the change? Shino asked, pushing his glasses up the bridge of his nose with his finger. Kiba and Kurenai gazed at Shino. Kurenai shook her head after a second. It is not a bad change, Hinata is growing and that is what counts. Team 8 turned to face their newcomer. The Naruto. The final nail was driven into the house by Naruto number 1. On the roof, Naruto number 2 laid several rows of tiles. Carpenters needed to cut the lumber that Naruto number 3 carried. Naruto number 4. Shall we just skip over this section? Sakura received a bucket of cement from Naruto. Yes, this is the real Naruto, and she used it to fill multiple brick molds. While silent, the procedure went smoothly. Still, there was the oppressive awkwardness of expressing the bewilderment and jealousy of Naruto's newly acquired abilities. A section of the street that was damaged by an explosion tag attached to a kunai was being rebuilt by Sasuke and Sakura. Over the last week, Konoha has experienced innumerable emotional outbursts from both shinobi and villagers, along with relief that they have weathered the invasion rather well. While some were drinking and raising a glass to a better life and restored happiness, others were crying or trying to find a way to let go of the loss of a close friend or family member. Sakura questioned incredulously, "Are you sure what you're saying? How could Sasuke have even dared to think of something like that? I mean, if it were true, wouldn't we have heard about it sooner?" Sakura, I assure you, the Uchiha scowled menacingly. Sakura's insistence on not buying his theory was rapidly making him lose his cool. She questioned, how can it be a bloodline? I mean, Konoha has nearly as many blood limit users as Kirigakure. A bloodline that powerful wouldn't have stayed hidden or unknown for very long. Sasuke sighed and turned to look. Sasuke thought about what she had said and saw that he was right. It would be impossible to conceal a bloodline that could grant its bearer strength multiplied by several times over. Any other shinobi village, like Konoha, would have been trying to show off how strong it was. Furthermore, despite having once examined Konoha's supply of limits in the academy, neither of them had ever heard of such a bloodline. Additionally, every bloodline limit was well known in one way or another. Had Naruto's lineage been genuine, it most likely would have been more esteemed than that of the Sharingan or Byakugan. She insisted, and why wouldn't we have heard about it sooner? She refused to believe it, didn't want to believe it. With another sigh, Sasuke picked up a large stone. Fine, it's not bloodline. Let's just get back to work. Even Kakashi himself stood back and observed. He had heard that Naruto had easily defeated the Hyuga genius. Of course he helped out, but he kept tabs on his genin. About a report on Naruto's newfound powers, Kakashi had asked the Hokage. It seemed obvious that the Hokage could benefit from some analysis, that is, since he was present. All the Hokage said was to ask Naruto. Furthermore, the Hokage dismissed Kakashi's account of Naruto's disobedience, stating that he wouldn't be here today if Naruto hadn't broken through the barrier. The Kakashi was unable to return to that. Kakashi was now incredibly intrigued by Naruto's newly acquired abilities. He desired to inquire, but Kakashi was unable to. The same unease surfaced. How did Naruto get the strength to take on a Hyuga? Additionally, Kakashi had heard from Sakura and Sasuke that he had completely overpowered Gaara. That was fish, all right. It wasn't as though he wasn't pleased with Naruto's development, but this was absurd. Kakashi yelled to his group. Okay guys, I think that's enough for today. He picked up his book and made his way over to his grandfather. His group became aware of him. Despite being somewhat dirty from the debris, they were generally clean. Let's go out to eat, Kakashi said, clearing his throat. Naruto said, giving his head a scratch. Well sensei, I kind of have to go somewhere later. Kakashi furrowed her brow. It's my treat then. I need to go, sorry sensei, sighed Naruto. Kakashi grinned broadly. Well, we haven't had a team meeting for a while, so why don't you just send a Kage Bunshin to do it for you? After blinking, Naruto grinned. That's smart sensei. Here I go. After making a Kage Bunshin, Naruto fled. Okay sensei, let's go, Naruto grinned as he turned to face Kakashi again. Team 7 then left. Sasuke observed Naruto walking contentedly alongside Sakura and Kakashi. Naruto was his teammate, and he wouldn't want anyone else to fight alongside him. Why was Sasuke's fist clenched? Why did he seem so frail? Naruto became more adept at leaping and bounding, but he was nowhere near strong enough to battle him. I'm so sad. Breaking out of his reverie, Sasuke turned to face Naruto and asked, Huh, what did you say? I was thinking we could spar. I need some help on my taijutsu, said Naruto, rolling his eyes. After blinking, Sasuke slowly nodded, okay. Naruto replied with a smile. I found a really cool fire jutsu in the library. If you help me with taijutsu, I'll give it to you. Sasuke blinked, recalling the picture of Naruto stumbling through the library. He couldn't contain his laughter and burst into laughter. Blinking, Naruto became enraged, saying, Hey, why are you laughing? Sorry Naruto. Just that. Heh. The image of you going to the library is too funny, said Sasuke, calming himself with a wave of his hands. The vein in Naruto pounded fiercely. Why? Well, you are the Dobi, Sasuke chuckled once more. Pouting, Naruto rolled his eyes and turned his head away. Despite being stronger, Dobi remained the same, so Sasuke dismissed his jealousy. At any old restaurant, Sakura, Kakashi, Sasuke, and Naruto sat at the serving booth, waiting for their turn to be served. Naruto had to go to the restroom prior to the waiter arriving, and he returned looking satisfied. After Naruto declared he was full, the rest of Team 7 finished their meal. Normally, Team Eat Ins are lively affairs with lots of laughing and chatting, almost like a party, but as you can see, Team 7's conversation was. The silence didn't end until Kakashi cleared his throat. So, yeah, I'm glad everyone survived the invasion, but I heard some pretty interesting stuff, he said. Why don't you provide me with the mission report right away, as I haven't received it yet? Grinning, Naruto said, Well, sensei, I already gave my report to Sandaime, so. Yeah. He then scratched the back of his head. All right then, Kakashi shrugged and turned to face Sasuke. Sasuke described in detail his adventure against Gaara, including how Shino assisted him and how he had to battle Gaara for his life. Using the third Chidori, Kakashi mentally noted, that means he must have used the curse seal. Sakura then stepped in and continued the story, explaining how Shikamaru had been the distraction and had found Sasuke, which had diverted Gaara's attention before Naruto appeared. There was a pause, a feeling of unease in the exchange. At last, Kakashi turned to face a very bored Naruto, who had laid his head on his arms. So Naruto. Looking at Kakashi, Naruto perked up and said, Yay, sensei. Well, what happened when you entered? I came in and kicked his ass. That's it, Naruto shrugged. With a raised eyebrow, Kakashi said, Oh, I see. But, how did you do it? Head tilted, Naruto did so. I kicked his ass, what do you mean? Kakashi let out a sigh. He tilted his head in their direction and said, I heard from Sasuke and Sakura that you used several high-ranking jutsus. Once more, Naruto blinked. Ah, well I got those from the library too. I found them and they seemed really easy, so I used them. Sasuke blurted out, Easy. You destroyed 20 trees with one swing of the arm. Naruto gave a shrug. I overloaded it with chakra, Naruto remarked, smirking to himself in his head. However, one could argue that my hyper chakra. And Sakura joined the conversation again. Then what about that blindfold? Naruto gave a shrug. It helps me focus. Kakashi let out a sigh. Naruto, what I think they are trying to ask is how did you get to your level right now? Then, Team 7 noticed a change in Naruto's nonverbal cues. His hands became clenched, and he became tense. They noticed something unusual about his face. In fact, they had never seen it before, a twisted expression of disgust and utter rage. With a low, dangerous voice, Naruto exclaimed, "How did I get to my level?" Kakashi cursed in his head. Things were starting to spiral out of control. Naruto stood up from the chair. "I trained my ass off, I had to go look for help. That is how I got stronger." Kakashi attempted to call out to him, "Naruto." Just as he did in the stadium, Naruto disregarded him. "Leave me alone." As the team leader, Kakashi had to maintain control over his soldiers and got up as well. "Naruto, I know you may not like sharing your secrets, but..." It had caused an old wound to open. Naruto growled in a low voice, "Oh yeah, Sasuke can keep his fucking secrets and you can go train him. But you leave me out of it, huh?" Sasuke's eyes grew wide. Kakashi tried to talk once more. "Naruto, Naruto growled loudly, almost yelling, "If you even dare say you are fucking sorry, I will ask Sandame to take me off this team." The entire team was now on their feet. Naruto's fist clenched. "You are a fucking pathetic teacher. All you have taught us is tree walking and you sent us into the Chunin exams." Kakashi opened his mouth, but his voice died. Here it was, his pupil making fun of him. "Naruto, please. Just relax," Sakura tried to diffuse the tension. Naruto sneered. Naruto turned to walk away, saying, "This is a waste of my time." Kakashi made contact. "Naruto, we are not done. You may leave the team, but I am still a higher-ranking nin." "And I am." Glaring, Naruto peered over his shoulder. "Shut up, you pathetic excuse for a teacher." Naruto then vanished into smoke. Now, the rest of Team 7 was genuinely taken aback. When did he? The Naruto. Naruto took a sip of his tea and hesitated. He was filled with deep agitation and an unexpected surge of anger upon receiving the memories of his cage bunshin. "Is something wrong, Kira? San?" Waving his hand, Naruto raised his gaze. "Oh, I'm sorry, it is nothing. Just an old memory pawing." Yes, they had been discussing their teams. Naturally, Naruto created a fictitious squad, largely drawing inspiration from Team 7. Hinata cowed a little. I'm. Naruto laughed. "You have to stop apologizing. It is not your fault that I remember these things, besides it is good to reflect on the past." Hinata gave a nod and then spoke. "But still Naruto let out a sigh. "Hinata-san, please, you have to gain more confidence. Or how else are you going to ask out this Naruto boy of yours?" Hinata blushed bright red. Naruto chuckled to himself. Yes, she had disclosed to him her crush on Naruto, and it was quite instructive. As he learned of it, he had choked on his tea. And he had crazy dreams that night. Regarding him and Hinata going on dates and spending time together. No, it wasn't that material that you perverts. Thus, the evening progressed. 3 weeks following the assault. Naruto stood at the West Gate's gates. Now that it was time to part, Jiraiya had finally warmed up. You could say that Naruto was now a lone Chunin. Indeed, he was promoted. Then why was he alone? That is what took place. Upon Naruto's dispelling of his cage bunshin, Kakashi promptly reported this disobedience to the Hokage office. The Sandame knew full well that Sandame had received the entire report from Naruto about everything that had occurred. From fighting Gaara to Kakashi rejecting you. And the Sarutobi concurred with Naruto on this one. When there are other options available, favoritism is not the solution. While it is true that Sasuke must train against Gaara, Naruto is still your pupil, and you shouldn't abandon him because you believe he has little chance of success. Naturally, Sandame was able to understand Kakashi's logic, so he absolved the two of them. However, Sandame was forced to act when Kakashi informed him of Naruto's disobedience once more. The following day, he invited Naruto into his office. After giving his version of events, Naruto and the Sandaime came up with a solution. Jiraiya would take on the role of mentor for Naruto during his temporary removal from Team 7. And now, with a foolish smile on his face, Naruto was leaning against the gate. Why? Since there was a mishap. Yes, it was very good, and no, it wasn't bad. It was entirely by coincidence that Naruto ran into Hinata at a well-known training area. Actually, Hinata had a decent conversation. She spoke louder and without as much stuttering. After hearing her discuss her training, Naruto nodded and spoke about his own. After falling over, she went to retrieve her kunais that she had thrown. She turned red as Naruto caught her. She turned to thank them, but instead, their lips said hello. That was Hinata's final defeat. For a minute, Naruto stood blushing while holding Hinata in his arms. Then he carried her back to the hospital, making a cage bunshin. Naruto was acting foolishly as he kept thinking back on the scene. Oi Brad, did you get laid or something? Naruto staggered and pivoted, scowling. Shut up Jiraiya, and no, I'm too young, you fucking pervert. Wearing his usual clothes, Jiraiya rolled his eyes. Well, stop smiling like an idiot. Naruto averted his gaze. Whatever, let's go. Oi Brad, catch. Instinctively, Naruto turned and raised his hand. When in launched a water-filled balloon, Naruto gazed at it and then back at Jiraiya. What is this? Jiraiya raised a balloon of his own. It'll help you learn the Rasengan, it's an A rank jutsu. Naruto gave a shrug. I have plenty of A rank jutsus, what's so special about this one? Jiraiya grinned. It has the possibility of combining the perfect spatial recomposition and elementally recompose. Naruto stopped talking. He had come to the conclusion that recomposition was the shaping of chakra outside the body, similar to hand or breathing techniques like Chidori or Katun. Dragon Missile. Additionally, there was elemental manipulation known as elemental recompose. In order for a jutsu to possess the best qualities from both of these, that was. Don't mess with me, Jiraiya, there's no way. Naruto exclaimed, gaping in shock at Jiraiya. Guess who used this? Jiraiya asked, shaking his head. After pausing, Naruto spoke up and said, I see now. The Yondaime created the technique. Jiraiya grinned and nodded. Oh yeah, it still needs the elemental recompose, but we can work on that later since you can easily use elemental chakra. Naruto gave a nod. They continued to walk in this manner. After 4 hours. With triumph, Naruto exclaimed, done. Jiraiya blanched and observed that, in fact, he had twice demonstrated the process to Naruto. Once as an example and once as a request. How the hell did you do that? Stammered Jiraiya. Gripping another water balloon from the pack and holding it up, Naruto smirked as he watched Jiraiya's face quiver in shock. Well, at first I noticed the water moving in multiple ways, which meant you were creating a disturbance in the chakra. Naruto continued, but if it was just pushing out, then the chakra would not hold together, so it would not fit the requirement for a spatial recomposite in jutsu. So once more, I asked for it. The balloon burst, and Naruto thought, that's when I theorized that the chakra spun the water. From there I just expired. Then he noticed the water pushing out, not all at once but in multiple spots and at random intervals in random places. Jiraiya's mouth fell open at this child's excessive capacity for reasoning. Jiraiya sighed and said, damn kid, you are a genius, why are you the Dobi again? After he had collected himself. Rolling his eyes, Naruto said, hated class. Didn't pay attention. It was a laugh that Jiraiya shared. A few miles distant, two figures observed the interaction between a Jinchuriki and a Sannin. One had red eyes, the other held a wrapped sword, and they were both wearing black claques with clouds on them. It was the Akatsuki. He was exerting all of his physical might on himself. Sasuke was running around on top of a narrow formation of rocks, practicing his shuriken aim at the dozen rocks he'd just thrown high into the air, and engaging in a fictitious fight with a lone kage bunshin. He'd been nagging Kakashi to give him lessons. After a protracted argument, Kakashi gave in. Sasuke felt bad for Naruto because he knew it might have something to do with favoritism. His departure from the team left a void. A massive hole appeared during tedious training exercises and missions. There was no longer any complaining, shouting, or rivalry. He had come to expect all of those things, which had been a constant in his life, and now they were all gone. Sasuke stood out when he noticed multiple stones being thrown at him. Thus far, he had successfully struck 8 out of the 12 while keeping his 4 remaining shuriken ready to strike at any moment. Sasuke's bunshins darted in as he was looking for the last few stones. He dove beneath the bunshin's kick, planting 1 chakra. Infused hand on the ground to support his next kick to the unguarded back of the bunshin. With a rock hurled at him, the bunshin rolled out of the way as Sasuke delivered a downward axe kick. Sasuke was forced to turn around and lost sight of the bunshin. Sasuke leapt back into the air and quickly threw 2 shuriken after the bunshin, dropping his foot back to the ground to regain his balance. The bunshin had vanished, which was the only issue. He sensed his bunshin's presence behind him as he descended to the earth. He heard himself say, "Fool," from behind him. Sasuke could barely turn to look behind him before he saw the bunshin's fist approaching his face. He only ducked under it out of instinct, only to see the bunshin's knee coming toward his face. Sasuke raised his arms and narrowly avoided the imaginary blow before delivering a forceful blow to the bunshin's abdomen. It was instantly destroyed. After finishing the workout, Sasuke felt his body release adrenaline. He fell to his knees and his breathing became very labored. His body was unable to withstand the mistreatment he was giving it. However, he had tried his best to ignore it. He needed to strengthen himself. Sasuke was not content to stay the Rookie 9's second best player. Gaara had been easily defeated by Naruto. He was falling behind so much. How did he get so weak? No, how did Naruto become so strong? He could accomplish it if the Do could. Not at all. He attempted to reassure himself. I'm capable of more. Resolved, Sasuke ran forward to pick up where they left off. The Naruto. He'd been waiting for 2 hours, for real, for 2 hours. Naruto scowled intensely. His expression was twisted into what could only be described as sincere and pure annoyance. He promised to return in a short while. And Jiraiya was still nowhere to be found. Out of annoyance, Naruto growled and kicked out at the closest piece of furniture he could reach. Where are you, you damn pervert? Naruto noticed that he was getting very agitated very quickly. Naruto had declared he was ready to go on to the second step of the Rasengan after completing the first. Wait, Jiraiya said, shaking his head. Jiraiya had argued that he needed to concentrate on his mental speed, but Naruto yelled at him, telling him to finish it as soon as possible. Naruto turned pale. Jiraiya had stated that on the battlefield, mental speed equated to quick thinking, and Naruto possessed little to none of it. Of course he followed his instincts, but dear Kami, what a fool he was. Naturally, Naruto attempted to give Jiraiya a small gift by using his leg, but Jiraiya quickly gave Naruto a backslap. Jiraiya then instructed Image Trainee. Work your way up to 5 opponents by starting with just 1, as that was the most a nin could face unless they were extremely powerful ninjas or Anbu levels. With his chakra rising every time he felt especially ferocious toward the Sannin, Naruto paced the hotel room. Okay, so not murderous, just really irritated. In any case, Jiraiya advised using different combinations of the characters he had witnessed fight after Naruto had finished using all 5 of them. In this manner, he could adjust and combat various levels. Naruto thus employed a Senbon user and a swordsman. He then rejoined his former team. After that, he visited a few sound nin that he had previously seen during the invasion. He truly had no idea what to use or even where to begin the first few times. He could, of course, enter the Golden Eyes state, but it would take some time. In Golden's opinion, he had handicapped himself by not starting. Jiraiya had assured them they would be leaving soon, saying he had some pretty good leads as to where they could find Tsunade. However, he was beyond Naruto when he managed to find the time to obtain such leads, while mingling with a lovely woman he had recently met. With a sigh, Naruto plopped down on the bed. Now that he was waiting for someone who most likely wouldn't even show up later tonight, what? Naruto let his chakra loosen up and disperse throughout his body. Ever since he turned on Golden Eye's state, it had been acting in this way. His chakra would spread out like water and settle all over his body. He couldn't feel it before because it had been constantly moving through his body unless he felt like using a jutsu. It felt heavy now, as though it were squeezing him. Naruto let a small portion of the chakra form into a beacon. It was the chakra echo, or so he called it. It wasn't like a typical chakra barrier that sensed out people. Using the chakra radar that Jiraiya had given him, he had begun to alter it. He sent presences outside the door. Naruto blinked. He had almost assumed it was Jiraiya, but why would there be two? His mind raced. Naruto had spent years dodging angry civilians and mobs, so he was used to thinking quickly. Once again, the Naruto chakra echoed, it could be room service. No, that's impossible. What about Jiraiya bringing in a friend? Unlikely, he said this would be a secret mission. He added a little bit more chakra this time. You see, just like with his other chakra radar, it gave him an indication of the quantity of chakra present. However, the quicker it returned, the more chakra there was. To be precise, Naruto added quite a bit of chakra to this echo. Jiraiya's, Bounce, and several others had already been measured by him. After comparing their levels, he had established an appropriate measuring method. Jiraiya recovered from a fall in just 3 seconds, while Kakashi needed 9. These guys finished in a mere 5 seconds. These were definitely not your average ninjas, as Naruto's palm began to perspire and his body tensed. Although he could probably compete with Kakashi in a straight fight, he was unable to even touch Jiraiya, not even in Golden Eye's state. With trembling, Naruto stood up and made his way toward the door. These guys would never, ever pay us a visit for social purposes. Naruto sighed, taking a deep breath. He had to get away. What should I do now? Naruto asked himself, formulating a strategy in his head. Sasuke. Walking to Kakashi's room, Sasuke continued to think about Naruto's development. How he became so strong was almost beyond comprehension. However, he was aware that Naruto was a diligent worker and might have been secretly training. Could he accomplish the incredible feats that Naruto displayed in the Chunin exams, which Sasuke never would have believed possible? When Sasuke walked into the room, he noticed something intriguing. The room contained 4 Junins, Asuma, Kurenai, Guy, and Kakashi, who was sleeping in his bed. What on earth was happening? Sasuke's eyes widened in curiosity. Why is Kakashi resting in the middle of the day? Why are all the Junins in his room? The Junins looked away, not responding. Sasuke's eyes went narrower. How absurd. Then there was a loud footfall. When Sasuke turned around, a second Junin burst in, screaming. Is it true? Itachi has come back and he is hunting Naruto. Sasuke's consciousness lapsed for roughly 1.285476296726545532 seconds. Shrugging, Kurenai whispered, stupid, at the Junin. After experiencing a mental reboot, Sasuke began sprinting in an attempt to locate Naruto. The Akatsuki. An angry looking man with blue skin and shark-like teeth peered at the door. Even though they had just arrived, Itachi was already poised to knock on the door. Yo, Itachi, what are you doing? Open it up. Itachi gave a nod. I apologize, my eyes were acting up. Kisame scowled and averted his gaze. He was aware of Itachi's vision. Even in a criminal organization, having a partner made you accustomed to their presence, whether you liked them or not, as they were a constant in your life. Itachi rapped on the door and bided his time. The Naruto. When Naruto heard the knock, he immediately thought, that's the K. He reached for the handle and swung it up. He practically exclaimed, finally. Why do you take so long, you stupid pervert? How disappointing it was for Naruto to yank open the door and see a familiar set of dark eyes staring back at him. Almost instantly, a frown took hold of his face and his once bright, hopeful eyes darkened with irritation. His heart began to race as he thought quickly about Sharingan. He failed to consider the subtle but evident differences between this young man and his former teammate because he was too upset. Naruto growled, buzz off, Sasuke. I'm not in the mood for your crap. Before the stranger could say anything more. Then, without saying another word, he slammed the door in the man's face. And with that, Naruto vanished in a puff of smoke. Kisame. Conversely, outside. Kisame blinked at the exclamation and the target's abrupt appearance. Well, that was interesting. I like this kid, Kisame remarked to Itachi, grinning toothily. He's got spunk. Itachi remained silent. For a moment, he just gazed icily at the closed door. He retreated a little and kicked viciously into the thin wood, splitting it in two as it fell inward with great force. They entered an empty room with an open window. The Uchiha only needed to glance around the room to know that their target had vanished. As he entered the room, Kisame blinked. He grinned, almost reluctantly, and said, "You didn't have to kick the door down." Itachi didn't respond. Kisame commented, clearly enjoying the sight of the usually composed Uchiha in a fury. "HN, slippery little brat, EH. Kisame," Itachi uttered once more, composed. "We must pursue him now, while he's still alone. We can't afford to cause another scene." Kisame thought, flashing a wilder version of his toothy grin, "Not yet anyway." Yes, this was becoming a really interesting job. Something caught Kisame's attention as he turned to leave. Something burning in the air. Kisame turned to face the source and searched the area. Nothing was present there. "Oh shit," was Kisame's first reaction as he looked up. Itachi raised his head as well, his own eyes getting big. On either end of the room, there were 4 explosive tags. Boom. The Naruto. Naruto squinted as soon as he heard the explosion. He was running in the direction that Jiraiya had been seen to be going. He didn't even think there was a chance the explosion would even scratch the 2 nins. Perhaps annoy them and cause them some temporary confusion, but nothing more. Naruto continued to press chakra into his legs before pushing away. It's going to take them about 18, maybe 15 seconds to catch up. Should I try to hide or should I let out my chakra so Jiraiya can find me? He had to leap back to avoid a huge smash from a wrapped sword, so he was unsure which way to go. With a quick step back, Naruto launched 2 kunai. The partner of the man with blue skin entered and effortlessly blocked them. With a curse, Naruto leapt back and quickly reached inside his jumpsuit to retrieve his blindfold. "Oh my god, it's time to release my chakra. It was pretty smart of you to use the explosive tags there, but we can't have you running around now, can we?" The big blue guy laughed and picked up the bulky object from his back. He lifted it and swung the heavy object in Naruto's direction. He barely avoided the smash, though, having jumped back before the hand had begun to move. He moves quickly. Naruto pondered. "I have to utilize the Golden Eyes state in order to have a chance until Jiraiya arrives." Naruto closed his eyes with the blindfold. The 2 ninjas stared with curiosity and amusement. Kisame gave Itachi a quick glance. With a swing of his right hand, Kisame lunged at Naruto, thinking, so. He knows how to fight a Sharingan user. But I wonder. Does he fight well? With a bending motion, Naruto rolled to his right. Kisame's swing missed the mark and missed Naruto. After pressing his left palm against the ground, Naruto chambered his legs. Then he pushed off, causing his left leg to follow his right leg as it shot upward. With a precise heel strike on Kisame's nose, Naruto turned on his left hand and shifted his weight further to the right. Kisame was sent reeling when his left shin crashed into his throat. Coughing, Kisame fell to the ground. "That little fucker." Itachi sighed. "That is why you shouldn't underestimate your opponents, Kisame." Kisame simply mumbled something nonsensical and stood up, patting down his cloak. Now, people were running left and right while yelling loudly in discomfort. As Naruto began to enter his Golden Eyes state, he thought, "I just hope this is enough to find me." After 2 seconds, the Sharingan user abruptly spoke up, but he didn't direct his speech at Naruto or his partner. "It's been a long time, Sasuke." And Naruto noticed someone who most definitely wasn't supposed to be there from behind them. A voice full of hate, loathing, and lust to kill, Uchiha Itachi, screamed out from the newcomer. Well, this is really an interesting day. This is the second time I've seen another Sharingan today," Itachi's partner said abruptly. Sasuke went on, "I will kill you." There were now 2 tomos in his eyes, and his eyes were red. Abruptly, Naruto was reminded of what Sasuke had previously stated, namely that the man he had to kill was actually his brother. "Sasuke, what the hell are you doing here?" was the Naruto's cry of realization. He was disregarded by Sasuke. "Shut up, Naruto, get out of here, this is my fight." Kisame looked over his shoulder and said, "Hey, the same Sharingan as you and he seems to be familiar with you, Itachi." "San. Who is he?" "He is my younger brother." "Oh? I heard that you had wiped out the entire Uchiha clan. You let one live? This isn't the appropriate moment or location for a family get-together." With a rising sense of unease in his stomach, Naruto thought. If it were just him, Naruto could take care of himself until help arrived, but things would become much more difficult with Sasuke, the idiot. As he passed through multiple hand seals, Sasuke let out a growl. In his hand, electricity began to build up as he said, "I have lived all these years. All these years I have been surviving." With fury in his eyes, Sasuke raised his gaze. The Chidori erupted, "To kill you." Naruto stiffened. "You can't use Chidori on people this caliber, that idiot." Kisame retreated a few steps to allow Itachi handle Sasuke's charge towards him. Sasuke charged incredibly quickly, but not quickly enough. Itachi grabbed and pushed Sasuke's Chidori aside as soon as he lashed out with it. Itachi and Sasuke locked eyes. Sasuke was ready to strike. Itachi became aware of it and began to twist his arm, but he soon felt something behind him. Itachi dodged just in time to see Naruto strike his head with a circular house. With a laugh, Itachi sprinted away from Sasuke and Naruto, who were staring at them. "So the both of you against me?" Kisame furrowed his brow. "Let me handle this, Itachi, it'll be easier." Sasuke gave a growl. "What are you doing, Naruto?" Rather than answering, Naruto vanished. The nin's gazes got bigger. Then Kisame sensed something from behind. Now behind him, with his hands folded, was Naruto. With a yell of "Fuuton, impact wind," Naruto stepped forward, swinging his hands to either side of him. Kisame was propelled forward abruptly and collided with a shop. Itachi's eyes expanded. "That was a tactic, I realized." Naruto vanished once more, leaving Itachi with little time to think. Just as Itachi leapt to the side, Naruto reappeared and began to yell. "Fuuton, Dragon Windmail." Itachi was lucky to escape unscathed because the area he was standing in had been reduced to tiny fragments. Itachi gave Naruto a scowl. "We need to report this. This is not what we were told about the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi." Kisame was launched into the shop, where there was another explosion. "Okay, that's it, brat. I am chopping of your limbs." Kisame emerged, his expression utterly menacing. Naruto appeared. Well. Mannered Kisame appeared completely uninterested. "What the hell, Naruto? How did you become so strong?" Sasuke said, leaping backward and getting ready to make another Chidori. Naruto let out a sigh. "A story for another time, but we have to deal with these guys first." Disregarding Sasuke, Kisame lunged toward Naruto while brandishing his sword. Tensing up, Naruto prepared himself to use another wind technique, but something caused him to want to palm his face. Again, Sasuke charged directly at Itachi. Rather, Itachi performed multiple hand seals, which Naruto was able to identify. Quietly, Itachi yelled, "Katoon, Grand Fireball." Kisame swung, only to strike the round again. Kisame spun around, prepared to attack again, but there was nobody there. Sasuke's eyes widened as he saw a massive fireball approaching him that he was unable to avoid. Was this the way his life would end? Not turning into a great ninja, not killing Itachi, no. Fuuton, arrow spin. A thin layer of smoke billowed outward. When the smoke cleared, Kisame and Itachi looked surprised. With a shocked expression, Sasuke was staring at the person in front of him. Naruto was in front of him, using the technique to block the fire. Naruto was stuttered by Sasuke. Kisame laughed out loud. Sasuke gave Kisame a violent shake of his head. "Oh, that's rich, saving your fellow nin, huh? But it looks like it doesn't work so well with you," Kisame yelled at Naruto as he continued to laugh. With terror, Sasuke turned to face Naruto. Naruto lowered his right arm and his body began to tremble. Naruto placed his left hand down on it, and although it was undamaged and unblemished, it was burnt and black. Via third degree burns. Naruto. "Oh, Kami. Your arm." Sasuke began to tremble, realizing that his friend would perish as a result of his ignorance. "No, Kami, no," he begged. Naruto collapsed to the ground, writhing in agony, and his body began to tremble, dripping with perspiration. "Screw that pain," thought Naruto. Kisame took a step ahead. "Well, now that's dealt with, let's bag him and bring him back." A very icy voice said, "What the hell do you think you are doing to my student?" A new nin descended, and Itachi and Kisame immediately became vigilant. Naruto gingerly removed his blindfold with his right arm. He gave a feeble smile as he turned to face left. "Hey sensei, what the hell took you so long?" Jiraiya just glared at the nins in front of him without saying anything. Itachi gave a reciprocal glare. It looks like our time here is done. Kisame gave Jiraiya a close inspection. Let's go. Jiraiya bent down in Naruto's direction and removed some bandages to bind his arm. Jiraiya began, I will let you two go this time. Then, however, he turned to face them with a demon. Like glare as his murderous intent was evident in his eyes. But next time I will kill you slowly. Kisame and Itachi walked away without saying anything. Sasuke lumbered up to trail behind, but froze when he heard Naruto moan. Sasuke worriedly turned around, realizing that Naruto's severe injuries was entirely his fault. Jiraiya had already begun bandaging Naruto's arm and mending some of the damaged tissue with a healing jutsu. Sasuke dropped to one knee beside Naruto. Jiraiya snarled, what the fuck were you thinking, brat? When Sasuke looked up, he saw Jiraiya was speaking to him. Sasuke could feel the hate and the rage rising from him. It was oppressive. With a stammer, Sasuke said, Itachi. I heard that he was. No, you idiot. Why the hell would you use Chidori against someone like Itachi? Jiraiya gasped. Sasuke winced. It was the highest level technique I learned. Jiraiya gave a headshake. You do not even know the basis of the technique, it is an assassination technique, not a frontal confrontation. And even then, to use it in a frontal assault against an S. Rank Nin is asking to be killed. Sasuke gave a reciprocal glare. Then what was I supposed to do? Just watch as they take Naruto. Just watch as the person I need to kill is standing right here. Jiraiya struck Sasuke on the face with the back of his hand at this point. The force of the blow caused Sasuke to topple over. In order to prevent aggravating the burns, Jiraiya picked up Naruto in a bridal manner and spoke with an unmatched rage. You are a failure as a nin. You can't even analyze a situation properly and make the right decisions to win. Your recklessness will get your teammates killed, and one day you will be killed when they stop sacrificing themselves for you. Sasuke's eyes grew wide. What exactly was he turning into? Was he a failure? Was he really so blind as to not even notice? Kami. Is he going to be able to use his arm again? Sasuke asked, his gaze first rising to Jiraiya and then to Naruto, whose unconscious face was twisted in agony. Sasuke flinched at Jiraiya's glare, fearing another blow. Jiraiya only slightly relaxed. I am going to find the best medic in the elemental lands, if she gives her consent then yes. Sasuke began to say, can I come? No, snarled Jiraiya. You've done enough. Return to Konoha and consider your actions that caused Naruto's injuries in the first place. Sasuke turned to walk away, but he refrained from speaking as he felt compelled to. After watching Sasuke leave, Jiraiya didn't even bother to watch him go. Instead, he ordered another room at a different hotel, and as soon as he was inside, he put several privacy and fortification seals on the arm. Next, Jiraiya unwrapped Naruto's hand and saw that red chakra was bubbling out of his burnt arm. He had expected this to happen, but it was happening far too slowly. Jiraiya then wrapped the arm and took out another ink and brush, writing several seals on the bandages to control the flow of the Kyuubi's chakra and prevent the bandages from breaking down. As he completed the seal, Jiraiya bit his lip and said, it'll hold, but he needs a real doctor. 2 days subsequently. When Naruto woke up, Jiraiya was walking beside him, going through several scrolls, and his right hand held a balloon. He was on the second step of the Rasengan, and he had been trying to pop it for 4 hours with no luck. Jiraiya had carried him a few miles towards their destination. Naruto trudged along the road, his bandaged, limp left hand at his side. Retrospection. URK, Naruto moaned as he felt his left arm, or at least the elbow, twinge in pain. Ugh, my head, he thought as he sat up unsteadily. When I lifted my arm and looked at it, it was all bandaged up. What? What happened? Naruto lurched over in pain as it hit him like a ton of bricks, the cloak. Wearing ninjas, the trap, the chase, the fight, Sasuke butting in, and him saving Sasuke and getting burned as a result. After glaring at his arm for a while, Naruto's eyes widened and he began to shake. No, this can't be happening, he said, realizing that something odd had happened to his hand. Naruto, are you alright? It finally dawned on Naruto, who looked up shakily at Jiraiya, I can't feel my left arm. Flashback concludes. With another sigh, Naruto turned to face the road and said, I will get stronger. After focusing Chakra once more, Naruto tore the rubber balloon to pieces. Location unknown. With intense scrutiny, Orochimaru studied the papers in front of him. This was not good. Even after spending several days working on his small project, he was still far from being successful. He was in need of information, but not information about seals, jutsu, or similar things. He required medical and human physiology knowledge. Yes, he had doctors, but not nearly to the extent he required. The deck was stacked against him, and it would take too long for him to become an expert in everything. He required someone who could handle the data with ease. Although Kabuto was good, he wasn't good enough. He required someone with the necessary dexterity to effortlessly navigate the nervous system and chakra pathways. Orochimaru leaned back in his chair and sighed. Orochimaru thought, "It looks like I really need to call in an old contact," while simultaneously considering how to persuade her to support him. As he cautiously made his way inside, Kabuto greeted Orochimaru. "Sama." Turning around, Orochimaru grinned and said, "Kabuto, we're going on a road trip." The Naruto. Naruto surveyed the town around him. "It's Tanzaku. Guy here. It seems that most towns have some similarity to Konoha," thought Naruto, gazing at the bustling area in front of him. This made him think of the Blue District in Konoha, which he had frequently run through to escape his captors because it was so crowded that it was easy for him to lose people there. Naruto leapt up on a house's roof to get a better look, and Jiraiya did the same. So Tsunade should be here, Naruto thought with a hint of humor. The last town they'd been in, they'd only missed Tsunade by a day, so hopefully they'd finally catch up with her in this latest town. Jiraiya had been away talking to his contacts, while Naruto was running for his life from S. Class ninjas. Yes, Jiraiya had told him who was pursuing him. Naruto had considered it for a few days, but he chose not to dwell on it. "Because I didn't want to fall into a sense of despair, knowing that someone was coming after me for the thing I imprison," he reasoned. "And considering that the people coming after you were S. Class missing nins, that really didn't help either." Instead, Naruto focused his mind on finishing the Rasengan and forming an IM. "Hey Jiraiya." Naruto sighed, surveying the scene. "There's a huge echo of chakra nearby, where chakra had been used." Naruto froze, sensing something wasn't quite right. Turning to the west, he saw a huge building collapse. Jiraiya turned to face Naruto and gave him a somber nod before saying, "Let's go." Once they had arrived, they were shocked at the scene. A large area had been affected by the carnage. Natural disaster might have been a believable excuse for the destruction that had occurred, but such wasn't the case. The castle was all that had been razed to the ground, so the culprit could only have been a summoned animal of some sort. The huge amount of chakra residue that was there attested to the hypothesis also. With this kind of destruction, I say someone was looking for Tsunade. Taking out a monument probably needs a high-level jutsu or a summon, Jiraiya said with a scowl on his. But Tsunade wouldn't use her summon to mindlessly destroy, and the only one I know who would know how to search for Tsunade would be Jiraiya's Naruto finished with a Orochimaru. But why would Orochimaru be looking for Tsunade? Jiraiya asked, nodding. Jiraiya pondered aloud. Naruto mused aloud, recalling the snake freak, Orochimaru. Oh, how he wanted to punch that bastard in the gut with a wind chakra empowered first. However, his memory was hazy and his feelings were too strong when he was told. He was a leaf nin, but then he betrayed us and became a missing nin, right? Replied Naruto. He had done library research. Usually, he would visit the library and conduct research before meeting Hinata in the role of Kira. Naruto tightened his jaw. This wasn't good. First, he was attacked by S. Class ninjas, and now another S. Class ninja was hunting their target. Why was the shit falling all over the place? We should get going. Jiraiya gave a nod. Jiraiya nodded again, then let out a sigh. But it's too late in the day to do much of anything, so let's go eat some dinner, huh? With a crisis like this developing, Naruto looked bewilderedly at Jiraiya, wondering why in the world it would be time for food. Okay, so let's at least avoid going to a bar again, sighed Naruto as he trailed Jiraiya back along their original path. He was no longer debating the pervert, at least not all the time. He was aware that Jiraiya was not as insane as he had made himself appear. But hey, that was some personality Jiraiya had created. No. Jiraiya stated. Naruto pouted and jumped to the ground, saying, "Ah, sensei, They always have horrible and icky food at the bar. Why the hell are we going to the bar anyways? It was already getting dark. Because Tsunade might be there, Jiraiya shot back, stepping under the cloth that was hanging at the bar's entrance. Jiraiya rolled his eyes. As Jiraiya peered inside, something caught his attention. Jiraiya? Tsunade? They all said, "What are you doing here?" Simultaneously. Drinking. Looking for you. Were the reactions that came in unison. Naruto and Jiraiya had just entered a somewhat respectable looking bar. To their utter amazement, Tsunade was seated at a booth with an alcoholic bottle in front of her. Shizune, her black-haired companion, sat beside her, holding a tiny pink pig in her arms. Each of the four wore a shocked expression that was mirrored. After instantly coming to terms with his shock, Naruto started dissecting Tsunade. Genjutsu over her is evidently still active. Jiraiya mentioned that she had been away from the game for a number of years. Naruto wondered with some curiosity, I wonder why Nin's chakra is still active when most would have slowed or dulled in that time. Tsunade, her blonde hair falling over her shoulder, tossed back another serving of sake and said, "Geez, this is a day of reunions, isn't it?" Her eyes were not quite focusing as they should, and she appeared tired and a little rumpled. Even though Jiraiya was fairly certain of what she was discussing, he still asked, "What do you mean?" After casting a quick glance Jiraiya's way, Naruto realized. Jiraiya was patiently waiting for the appropriate moment to break the news, just flowing with the conversation. Tsunade took another drink and said, "That bastard Orochimaru decided to pay me a visit." Jiraiya paused and raised an eyebrow at Tsunade. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he blinked. Orochimaru was here. Tsunade gave a nod. Yes, she replied, but she stopped there. The two elder nins gave their younger counterparts stern looks, telling them to stop talking. Conversely, Jiraiya conveyed a message to her by looking her in the eye. "We'll speak later." After clearing his throat, Jiraiya spoke. "In any case, we must discuss Sensei's orders." "Why, is Sensei getting ready to retire?" Tsunade snorted. "Yes, that's the reason I'm here. It wasn't every day you were told this kind of news." The black-haired girl on the right of Tsunade choked, and Tsunade herself was voted the new Hokage by the council. Jiraiya had slid into the seat in front of Tsunade, and Naruto sat next to him watching the conversation. Shay, who in their right mind would want that shit job? Tsunade snorted into her alcohol. What the hell gave her the fucking right to say that? Naruto's blood ran cold. Be careful what you say. Jiraiya shot Naruto a warning glance, but Naruto disregarded it as he growled. Tsunade gave him the squinty eye and said, "Who are you, twerp?" "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Furthermore, you cannot tread on the Hokage's name." Naruto glared at Tsunade as he stood up. Jiraiya pulled him back down, saying, "Get down from there, idiot. What is the Hokage, in your opinion? I'll tell you, this is a sad job. Every day you send people out to die, but you never stop smiling at them." Even though her voice trembled at the end, Tsunade scoffed at him, "You tell families they'll come back, but you know they won't." With a determined expression, Naruto met her gaze. A Kage is a village leader. If necessary, it is his or her duty to send soldiers to their deaths. There isn't a doubt. Although it is the most difficult job in the world, it is also the most significant. Being a Kage is an honor because they stand for leadership and order in the world. The only thing a Hokage does is shorten life. Tsunade gritted her teeth and looked away. Every single Hokage died for that worthless village, and even more people died trying to become Hokage. All right? Everyone passes away eventually, right? Naruto snarled at the blonde across the table, at least they died doing something meaningful. They died so that other families could still sleep with their kids, so that a son or a daughter would still have a home to go to. You're a moron, HMPH. Furthermore, I refuse to do it. Only idiots turn into Hokage, Tsunade said, taking the sake bottle at her elbow and swilling the remainder down in one large gulp. A gust of wind and a spike of chakra appeared. Naruto raised his right arm and yelled, "You bitch." A gold tint began to appear in Naruto's eyes. Bam! Naruto smashed into the counter across the restaurant. Jiraiya was at his feet, glaring at Naruto, and Tsunade and Shizune went wide-eyed. "You idiot. In your condition, how on earth do you think you can fight?" Shaking, Naruto stood up and shot back, saying, "Even with one arm I can still fight." One arm? Tsunade and Shizune stopped at this point. Turning to face Jiraiya, Tsunade said, "What does he mean one arm? He still has both his limbs." With a hint of regret and resignation on his face, Jiraiya sighed and turned to face Tsunade. "His left arm is dead from the bone up. That's among the reasons I set out to locate you." With her previous medical experience at her disposal, Tsunade was now eager to take on a new case. "What's wrong with it?" Jiraiya screamed, telling Naruto to come over here and stop making a scene. Naruto stumbled back to Jiraiya, who gave him a fierce look, shoved him into the booth, and grabbed his left arm, pulling back the sleeve. Shizune and Tsunade examined the bandaged arm. "Let's just say, some missing nins decided to pay Naruto a visit," said a quiet Jiraiya. His left arm was burned, resulting in third-degree burns. Tsunade's eyes got bigger. A certain fox healed his arm. "But the nervous system and chakra system are still null," Jiraiya said, ignoring her response. "A medical nin with great skill must guide chakra back through the chakra system in the case of a new limb added to a person. This will allow the chakra to activate the chakra nodes and nervous system." Tsunade thought, biting her lip. "Interesting. A case of foreign chakra reconstruction. I've heard of it before but never seen it." She still got it. Jiraiya allowed himself a small smile as he looked at Tsunade, analyzing the situation. He could always tell because she would grip her right hand when she thought. Naruto didn't even flinch when Tsunade grabbed his arm. After all, it's not like he could feel anything anyway. "There is no blood, there is not blood," Tsunade thought to herself as she inhaled deeply. To locate the chakra nodes, she sent a chakra pulse through the arm. There. About 7 of them. That's a lot, but they are all in perfect areas. "The Kyuubi did a good job in recreation," she said. Tsunade put her right hand on Naruto's shoulder and sent another chakra pulse that slivered through his arm and passed through his chakra nodes like a river. Tsunade smirked, having already learned the pattern. Then, sending a torrent of chakra, she guided chakra through the first node. Naruto twitched, feeling his chakra shift involuntarily towards his left arm. Tsunade felt a flood of chakra rush to follow her chakra to the first node. She then moved her chakra to the second node and so on. It was like a game of follow the leader. Finally, she moved her chakra to the final 7th node, where her left hand was. There, she moved her chakra back into her hand and released Naruto's arm. With Naruto's chakra ready rushing down, Tsunade's hand was certain that the chakra would now flow properly. Tsunade thought, well, that was an interesting development. She was already going over her work to record it for future research. She didn't have much field experience with reattaching limbs, but it was a fun start. Once again, Naruto's arm twitched and he experienced a flooding sensation in his hand. He looked at his left hand and concentrated on it, feeling his chakra flow through it. "It's back. Everything is back," he thought excitedly. Naruto attempted to clench his hand into a fist, but it closed slowly and steadily. Naruto grinned and turned to face Tsunade. Naruto nodded slightly and said, "Thank you for fixing my arm." Naruto knew when to show humility, even though he was still irritated about Tsunade tarnishing the Hokage's reputation. With a nod, Tsunade leaned back and said, "Just because I did that doesn't mean I'll be Hokage." Naruto gasped. "I wasn't expecting that. How about this, let's make a bet." With a raised eyebrow, Tsunade said, "Tell me first, then I'll agree." "How about we fight, and if you don't win then you come to the Konoha and become the Hokage." "Okay, brat, let's see what you got," Tsunade chuckled. "But let's do it later," smirked Naruto in return. "I just took back my arm, and you're inebriated." Tsunade sighed. "Whatever you say, brat. How about this, I'll give you 1 week to prepare." Wide-eyed, Naruto said, "Why thank you." Ultimately, the two groups parted ways, leaving Tsunade contemplating what to do with Orochimaru. In a lodging. "What are you thinking, Naruto?" Jiraiya sighed as she turned to face him. With a raised eyebrow, Naruto asked Jiraiya, "What do you mean?" With resignation and a hint of annoyance, "Okay, a great deal of annoyance," Jiraiya turned to face him. "You are facing a Sannin." Naruto gave a nod. "I noticed, but with the technique I am developing I can win." "Is it related to the Rasengan?" Jiraiya asked, eyebrow raised. It's not adding elemental recomposition if that's what you're thinking. But it's a much more effective means of delivering. Naruto nodded again, smirking the entire time. Additionally, I've noticed that the Rasengan has a little extra kick thanks to my golden eyes state. Now intrigued, Jiraiya said, "Oh, tell me everything about it." After 6 days. Shizune sighed, wondering if Tsunade had purposely set the bet to end tomorrow, or if she had just not been thinking about that. She didn't want Tsunade to lose, but she also didn't really want this blonde boy to lose either. She was also worried about Orochimaru. The Snake Sannin had promised to give Tsunade a week to consider the deal, and that week was coming to an end tomorrow. Tsunade. Sama. Please. I know you were thinking about Orochimaru's decision, but please don't accept it, Shizune said as she turned to face Tsunade as she entered the room. Tsunade gave her a dejected glance and said, "Shizune, I am your superior." Shizune assumed a fighting stance and said, "If I have to, I will fight you. However, I won't let you do that." Shizune was already flat on the floor after Tsunade punched him in the stomach and said, "Remember who you were talking to, Shizune." Tsunade left the room without saying anything. Jiraiya and Naruto. Jiraiya gasped as he sidestepped another Rasengan. This was absurd. A genin, yes, but still, to be pushed this far, that was something. Jiraiya thought back to what Naruto had done with the Rasengan, and he had to admit, it was a really great idea. The destructive power was unquestionably A or even S. Class level and the other aspects, well, that made the technique overall S. Class. After practicing chakra control in the Golden Eyes state for several days, Naruto looked over and saw that he was still getting the hang of it. Of course, he was still far from using the vacuum orb more than once in his Golden Eyes state, but it was getting there. Jiraiya leapt away once more, and Naruto crashed through the ground where Jiraiya had been, creating a 5-foot radius smocking hole. Stopping with a raised hand, Jiraiya said, "That's enough, rest up for tomorrow, you seem to have the approach down." With a nod, Naruto closed his eyes and sent energy shooting back to the core of his chakra, losing all strength and collapsing to one knee while gasping. "Up you go," Jiraiya said with a smile as he approached and took Naruto by the arm and pulled him up. "Are you sure you can combine this with the other things you showed me?" Jiraiya asked, glancing at all the other craters, splintered trees, and crumbled rocks. Naruto gave a nod. "It's a simple matter of using them in order, and if I put them all together." Jiraiya finished for him, saying, "It's a one-hit kill." The following day, Naruto was all fired up for the fight. Okay, so he was nervous as hell. There were 2 possible outcomes for this, and both would have terrible repercussions. But that wasn't what was bothering him. He was thinking about his team, his old team, specifically. Why did he act like a fool? If he had acted normally from the beginning, could he have been better? Could he have gained some recognition? Naruto was now on the roof, staring up at the sky. The sunrise was always amazing. In Konoha, he used to get up early to watch it. Of course, that's why he was always late for class, since he had to run down the Hokage monument to get to the academy. Jiraiya called out from the base of the hotel, "Hey Naruto. Come on, we need to go meet up with Tsunade." Naruto nodded, looked down, and then leapt down and landed neatly next to Jiraiya. As they headed west, Naruto had an epiphany. "Hey, how do you know where Tsunade is?" "I use my frogs to monitor everyone," Jiraiya shrugged. With a shake of his head, Naruto complained to himself in his head, "If you were watching everyone, then what about the class ninjas and me?" When they noticed someone running in their direction, they decided to continue walking. Jiraiya. Sama. Haruto. Kun. Shizune sobbed. Instantly on high alert, Jiraiya and Naruto sensed any threats that might have followed Shizune or were pursuing her. When they detected none, they only slightly relaxed and bided their time until Shizune arrived. Given Shizune's distressed demeanor, Jiraiya arched an eyebrow and asked, "What's wrong?" "Tsunade has gone to meet Orochi." Shizune gasped. Jiraiya had already taken Shizune and fled before she could finish, and Naruto was racing in the direction of a string of powerful chakra echoes. Tsunade. Tsunade bit her lip as she studied the 2 ninjas in front of her. "Well, Tsunade, what's it going to be?" Orochimaru grinned. With closed eyes, Tsunade said, "This is it." With her fist raised, Tsunade launched herself forward at Orochimaru, causing debris to fly as Orochimaru and Kabuto jumped back just in time. With hatred, Orochimaru gave Tsunade a scowl. "You bitch, how dare you betray me?" Tsunade smirked as she turned to face Orochimaru, saying, "I was never on your side to begin with." Tsunade charged again, but Kabuto and Orochimaru kept dodging. They kept scuttling around until they came to a narrow opening. Tsunade was not even gasping for air, but neither Kabuto nor Orochimaru had to act at that point. Tsunade surveyed the area and braced herself mentally. Here they could unleash their full power of technique, unafraid of falling objects or onlookers. "Alright, Tsunade, if you want to fight, you'll get one. However, I'm curious if you're in any shape to combat that bothersome fear of yours." Biting his own lip, Orochimaru saw Tsunade freeze, her gaze fixed on the blood running down his chin from the wound he had inflicted on herself. Tsunade forced herself to drop into a stiff stance, her eyes still fixed on the blood, saying, You won't scare me." "Oh, is that accurate?" Orochimaru smirked and said, "Kabuto, you can handle her." If only he could slow her down, he could easily take her prisoner. Kabuto shot towards Tsunade, bringing his hand up in an attempt to get at her neck. Tsunade dodged, but barely, and tried to return a punch to his jaw, but the motion was slow and jerky and Kabuto easily avoided it. Kabuto jumped backwards and threw two Quanis. Tsunade leapt to one side and charged forward. She lashed out with a roundhouse kick to the face, but Kabuto ducked. Using her momentum, Tsunade kept spinning and then pushed off with her pivoting leg. Her left leg lashed upwards and connected with Kabuto's face, sending him flying up. She stepped forward and gave a heavy punch to Kabuto's stomach. Kabuto was sent flying back. But the punch racked Kabuto with coughs, one of them calling up blood to fly out and spatter on Tsunade's face. She screamed and choked, taking several hurried steps backwards before slipping and falling onto her knees. She wiped furiously at her face to get the specks of blood off. In her distraction, she didn't see Kabuto slowly but surely heal himself and start moving towards her. "My, isn't that fear of yours a little inappropriate for a nin of your standing?" He raised a hand and coated it with deadly looking green chakra, thrusting it towards Tsunade's unprotected neck. "That's too bad. Once you were the greatest healer in the world, and now look at you, a doctor cowering at the sight of blood." Kabuto mocked her, but she had stopped listening, too preoccupied with the blood on her skin. Just as Kabuto was ready to charge and attack, he sensed something. Kabuto was sent flying back with food and impact wind. Orochimaru and Kabuto looked at Naruto's golden eyes for a moment, but it was too late. Naruto had already used his ultimate weapon against them. With someone like Orochimaru, he would need it to fight him. Well, if Jiraiya needed help killing Orochimaru, that is. Tsunade Sama. Tsunade glanced blearily in Shizune's direction, still trembling a little from the blood, as Shizune threw herself to her side in an attempt to clean the blood. "So, Orochimaru, it's been a while." Orochimaru grinned broadly and said, "Yes, Jiraiya is there. I will kill you." Jiraiya scowled at Orochimaru as she strolled beside Naruto. "Oh, and I remember our last encounter, you said." Orochimaru laughed widely. "Enough small talk," said Naruto. "Jiraiya, I will leave Orochimaru to you, until I take care of his lackey." "Oh, I'm touched, you're dedicating your time to me," Kabuto chuckled. Naruto sighed, appearing to be troublemaking, and scratched his head, saying, "No, I just want to kill the easy one before I move on to the big fish." Kabuto stopped laughing and glared at Naruto, who simply smiled broadly in return. With a hint of amusement, Orochimaru turned back to Jiraiya and said, "Well, let's see." Wiping blood from his mouth, he stamped the ground and performed several hand seals. Jiraiya's eyes widened and he grabbed Shizune and Tsunade, pushing them back. Jiraiya was hissed at by two snakes that looked like the ones that had invaded Konoha. Just as Jiraiya was about to undergo multiple hand seals, Naruto cried out, "Chakra-sensei, save yourself." After giving Naruto a quick glance, Jiraiya met his eyes, realized what he was saying, and allowed his chakra to return to his body without wasting it. Futon, Force Sword Edge. Naruto yelled, swiping down at the two new summons as he raised his left hand to his right shoulder and gathered chakra, causing wind to spin wildly around his arm. The chakra became so dense that the wind appeared to be visible around his arm. A huge gust of wind appeared everywhere. Shizune clung onto Tsunade to protect themselves from the intensity of the wind. Even Jiraiya held up an arm. After 3 seconds, the wind died down. The snakes were now cut up into bits. Their remains, poofed, out of existence. Smirking, Naruto said, Force Sword Edge really only cost chakra, just control. It was challenging to maintain the edge of layers upon layers of wind chakra on your arm, but with Jiraiya's control exercises, it was as simple as putting butter on bread. With a great deal of hatred, Orochimaru glared at Naruto. If this boy was on his side, he could destroy Konoha with a single sweep of his arm, but since the boy was too firmly rooted in Konoha's ideals, Orochimaru leapt toward the boy, prepared to kill him. Your opponent is me. Orochimaru blocked upwards and his eyes widened as Jiraiya gave him a vicious axe kick that sent him into the ground. The Naruto. Jiraiya kicked Orochimaru to the ground, and Naruto smirked and turned to face Kabuto. So, what's it going to be, EH? With a mocking question, Naruto reached into his orange jumpsuit to retrieve his blindfold. Without giving Naruto a chance to prepare, Kabuto glared at him before launching forward. After dodging a blow, Naruto leapt to the left, putting on his blindfold and saying, okay, then, how about this? Before vanishing from sight, Kabuto's eyes widened as he attempted to sense Naruto. Futon, rift, he let out a blood curling scream as he felt pressure all over his body. Suddenly, it stopped, and Kabuto collapsed onto all fours, panting hysterically. Naruto whimpered a few feet away, "Aw man, I was going to have you squeezed into a little blood ball for what you did." Kabuto took a soldier pill out of his pocket and said, "For what did I do?" Naruto replied, "Yep, you hurt Tsunade, and that's a no-no for any Konoha nin." After taking the pill, Kabuto got up and asked, "What is Konoha involved in this?" With a maniacal smile, Naruto said, "A nin's job is to protect their Hokage." With nostalgia, Tsunade listened to the conversation. How many times had she heard the title, Hokage? Her brother, boyfriend, and now this boy? Why would she be the next Hokage? Did she deserve it? What about her brother's dreams, her dreams? Should she become the Hokage? Should she become the Hokage for them? Tsunade began to slowly stop trembling. Then Naruto yelled, "Kabuto, I'm going to kill you. But please accept my honor. This is the first time I've really utilized this technique." Kabuto steeled himself against one more blow. Kabuto quickly scanned his surroundings, looking left, right, behind him, and underneath, but he was unable to find Naruto after he vanished. "I'm up here." Kabuto raised his head and his eyes widened. As though he were on the ground, Naruto appeared to be standing in midair. How? Kabuto uttered. "It's easy for you to concentrate the air particles around you if you can control pressure," Naruto chuckled. "So now." Naruto extended his left hand to Kabuto and sent a chakra downward. Naruto smirked and raised his hand above his head as Kabuto felt his body pushed to the ground and attempted to stand up, only to have his knees snapped in two, his bones protruding from his kneecaps and blood spurting out of his leg. I experimented with this technique and found an interesting combo. The chakra in Naruto's right hand began to spin. "It's finally finished, and I must admit, it's pretty destructive," smirked Naruto as the spinning chakra reached its peak and a fast spinning Rasengan with a 2-foot radius revolved around his hand. Judgment. Wise, this is a Rasengan. The air floor beneath Naruto vanished in an instant, and he shot forward, wind driven, towards Kabuto. With his right hand, he extended his arm fully and said, "Die." Smoke flew as a massive explosion tore through the grounds. Jiraiya. "This is my Rasengan judgment." Jiraiya, ducking under Orochimaru's sword, thought, "So you have brought it out, huh, Naruto? You must be pissed." Orochimaru jumped back, saw the explosion, and shook with rage, saying, "You bastard." Jiraiya laughed and said, mockingly, "This is why you do not mess with my student, Orochimaru." Jiraiya watched Orochimaru go, then ran in the direction of Tsunade as he glared at him and performed several hand seals before melting into the ground. The Naruto. After leaving the smocking crater, which had taken a toll on him, removing his blindfold and allowing his golden eyes to fade, Naruto stumbled in the direction of Tsunade, who had stopped trembling and was just standing there grinning. With a smile in return, Naruto asked, "So, Tsunade, are we going to have our fight?" "Rest, you idiot!" Jiraiya exclaimed as she entered the scene and gave Naruto a backsmack to the head. Glaring at Jiraiya, Naruto said, "Aachoo." Jiraiya spluttered and hit Naruto again after Naruto sneezed on her. "You idiot, why did you sneeze on me?" I didn't have a jacket on while you were training me," yelled Naruto in return. "Hi, I assisted you in combo finishing. I am aware. I'm grateful. Hello. Quit yelling now. All right." Tsunade and Shizune watched the exchange, giggling hysterically, and the two paused there, breathing heavily. "Hey brat." Turning to face Tsunade, Naruto said, "Yes? I'll be your Hokage." Naruto grinned. Rolling his eyes, Jiraiya said, "Let's go home, people."
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.